taking control, shoveling dirt in every hole. Predators to condemn your soul, watching you and watching me. We're all connected but separated, misunderstood and so frustrated. A million armies of one have invaded, watching you and watching me. We live behind glass curtains and act like nothing's wrong. Soon you will belong. I know you're out there somewhere. We've watched you for so long. We wait for you to fall. We'll expose you all. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. The little brother wants to make headlines, be immortalized. Everyone's got an electric eye, we're the digital spies. They've watched you for so long. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. We the people have taken over. We the people are little brother, standing by to dethrone each other, watching you and watching me. Paranoid, the lens is our weapon, desensitized in our lust for attention, democratized by our voyeur obsessions, watching you and watching me. Slaves to perfection, don't let them project you as you are. Feel your every flaw. I know you're out there somewhere. We've watched you for so long. Wait for you to fall. We'll expose you all. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. Little brother wants to make headlines, be immortalized. Everyone's got an electric eye, we're the digital spies. They've watched you for so long. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. Stay in line, don't make a mistake. We're watching. We watched you for so long. We wait for you to fall. We will expose you all. I know you're out there somewhere watching me.
let your experience begin right now. From high atop the mountains of British Columbia to you listening around the world, this is Spaced Out Radio. You can follow us on our website, spacedoutradio.com, on Twitter, @SpacedOutRadio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. You can follow us on Instagram, Dave Scott, SOR, or on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show.
They let us play with all our toys. They let us think that we're big boys. They let us make the louder noise, but we ain't rule the world. They let us think we're Superman, that we're the only ones who can be strong, but we break on command, cause women rule the world.
Buckle up, space travelers. It's time to go for a ride as we are live on Spaced Out Radio.
Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Said the deeper I go, the deeper I fall.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio. Tonight I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening in at spacedoutradio.com as well as on Spreaker. As once again we come in from the frozen Canadian tundra, battle our way past the wild animals, sidestep Bigfoot, and enter Uncle Jimbo's cabin, stoke the fire, heat this place up, and broadcast you live on this Thursday night, early Friday morning if you're on the East Coast. Way to keep those toothpicks in your eyelids to stay awake tonight. Here at Space Out Radio, we do this thing 3 hours a night, 7 days a week. Why? Well, that's because we want to be your official one-stop shop when it comes to the supernatural, paranormal, spiritual, conspiratorial, and so much more. So make sure you spread the word. Like our music, if you head to the new look Space Out Radio website, you'll hear all about the guitar god Ron "Bumblefoot" THAL, formerly of Guns N' Roses. Check out a couple of his music videos by clicking on the Bumblefoot banner. Also, you can check us out on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, you can follow me at Dave Scott SOR. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show, and of course our website is spacedoutradio.com. At this time, as we do every night, we welcome in everyone listening in on the High Plains Talk Radio Network, in the Spaced Out Radio chat room on Spreaker, along with our fans at Chronicles of the Unknown, Euphoria Chronicles, Forest Moon Paranormal, and our flagship chat room, the SOR Space Travelers. Hey, you can now head to Spaced Out Radio's website and sign up for the SOR Space Travelers Club. It's only $5 a month. That's cheaper than a Starbucks coffee. And we will be doing monthly prize draws with your name included. The first one tomorrow night. Have private group interviews, access to a special section on our website, and much more. We're going to give you a hell of a lot more than just access to our archives. Also, while you're on our website, you can check out the SOR Space Wire. Spaced Out Radio's news editor, Eric Markham, posts news stories every single day. And you can read our blog section as well. I got one up there right now dealing with the paranormal. So I highly hope you check it out. Tonight's show is brought to you by Revulet Reiki and Readings, providing healings in person or at a distance. PurplePlates.com, helping heal your body, mind, and soul. The new Agora newspaper is the official paper of this show, and the iTunes app Spirit Story Box. It's the official ghost hunting app of SOR. Many in the paranormal don't think that empaths or psychics should be involved in the field of ghost investigation because they think that they actually taint the hunt with their own biased thoughts. Although this does seem like a logical conclusion for teams to take the scientific approach to an investigation, a psychic medium is a great tool to have in uncovering the mysteries of the deceased. Now, I'm a firm believer that a psychic should be a part of any paranormal team. I mean, why wouldn't you? If they're good enough, and you've tested them out, they should be able to have that open line of communication, much like a Ouija board does, or dowsing. Growing up psychic can be fun, but a nightmare as well. Your life is filled with paranormal and odd experiences from the time you start having memories. And those experiences continue, whether you like them or not. Sometimes they're to a point where they can be uncontrollable. S.J. Wells has been putting her gifts to use for the last 50 years, 35 as a paranormal investigator, as her and her husband Garry run Fog Paranormal in northwestern Washington state. From the evil to those that just can't find the light, SJ has been a beacon of sorts her entire life to the spirit world. She's written about it. She writes fiction and nonfiction. Her book, Haunted, A True Story, is about those experiences, almost like a personal diary of memories she has had to live. We bring in SJ Wells now to Spaced Out Radio. SJ, welcome to the show. You've been listening for a long time, but now it's time for you to be on the other side of the microphone.
Thanks, Dave, for having me on the show.
It is a great pleasure to finally get a chance to talk with you because I'm excited. I actually get to meet you this fall when I will be speaking at the Forest Moon Paranormal Paracon.
Yes. I'm looking forward to it too. I'm actually looking forward to meeting everybody, that's coming as speakers and the visitors. It's going to be a great time.
I'm really looking forward to it because, I'll be honest, it'll be the first time that I get to be a speaker at a Paracon event. I haven't been doing this long. Radio, yes, but actually having my own show and I hate to use the term a voice of reason when it comes to this, but I'm very excited about getting down there in Concrete, Washington, and making things happen.
Well, Concrete is a great place to start because my husband, by the way, his name is Russ.
Oh, Russ, sorry. My fault.
That's okay. Yeah, we've been doing this for a long time, like you said, about 37 years now. And, we investigated Concrete, pretty much the whole downtown area, which isn't very big, but it has several buildings, and found them all to be haunted. So it ought to be a great time for everybody.
Now, you're someone who has had paranormal experience your entire life.
Pretty much, yes.
What was it like for you growing up like that, SJ?
Well, in a lot of ways it was exciting because I could do things that a lot of kids couldn't do. But in a lot of other ways, it was a little terrifying because my family was very religious, and there was Southern Baptists, and Southern Baptists are a little fire and brimstone kind of attitude, So my thing was that I was afraid that if I told anybody about my abilities, then I might end up in a padded room someplace. So, I didn't really tell anybody in my family until, I don't know, probably I was about 18 or 19 years old.
Did you find that you had a lot of support when you decided to say what was happening with you since childhood, or was it one of those fearful things that you just didn't want to talk about because you didn't want your parents to think you were funny growing up in a religious family? You didn't want to think that you were possessed by something evil or something along those lines?
And that you said it right on, you hit it right on the head, because my parents would have probably thought that I was communicating with demons. I never told, my parents have passed away now. I'm older, so, and they never knew. I never told them, ever.
Was anybody else in your family having the gift as well? That they just covered up?
Well, my grandmother, my mom's mom, she talked to me after she passed away, about it. She also talked to me a little bit about it before, that she could do the same thing before she passed away. But I was real young then, probably, 10 or 11 at the time. And I remember her telling me that not to be afraid of it, to just work with it and learn what I could. And then as life goes by, you'll learn more and more. And basically exactly what happened. So.
SJ, when you decided that you needed to look into this a little bit more, how did you go about it? Because I'm going to assume, and I might be quite naive about this, that back when you were learning about this, which would have been probably the early to mid-'80s, maybe the late '70s, that there wasn't a lot of support groups or people to talk to about it back then.
There wasn't. Actually, when Russ and I got together, it was 1980, and we had met on a Greyhound bus, believe it or not. I stepped on his foot by accident, and we've been together ever since. And one of the first things that happened with us is we were staying at this place in Colorado, in Commerce City, and it was an old converted hotel that was made into like studio apartments, and we were living there, and Russ was working while we were there. And one night we went up on the main motel building had a flat roof on it, and the manager would allow us to go up there and sit and watch the sun go down behind the Rockies. And so we were sitting up on the roof, and we heard this guy's voice behind us, say, "Hi, how you doing?" With, or something to that effect, just a long time ago. So I'm just, kind of filling in, but it was something to that effect. And Russ and I looked around. There was nobody up there with us. I mean, it was just me and him. And we were sitting up there watching the sun go down. And then we thought, okay, that's weird. And I said, you know what? I said, I bet we got a spirit up here with us. Because, I've been working with him for years, so I kind of understood what was going on. And we kind of went on from then, and we've been hooked ever since. I mean, we've been doing this for so long that I couldn't even tell you how many actual investigations we've done or how many places we've gone, Hello?
Let's go back before you met Russ, not Garry. Russ, because I screwed up on then. Yeah, I know. And I use 2 R's in Garry, so you never trust a 2-R'd Garry. That's all I've learned in my life. But anyways, before you meet Russ and you're starting to learn these abilities, what was happening to you personally on a nightly basis from the time you can remember as a child until the time you decided that this was actually a gift? What was up with you?
Well, I can recall my first experience because it was so obvious, I didn't understand at the time that the woman that I was encountering was an actual spirit until later that same day. And I was out in the yard. We had this big oak tree in our yard, and I went and sat next to it and playing with my dolls. And just like most kids would do, it was kind of the fall time, because the leaves were on the ground. And all of a sudden, this woman walks up to me, she looked as solid as, as me and you, and talked just like me and you, And she asked me, I said, hello, because I was always raised to be nice to the elderly, so, and she said, hello, my name is Agnes, and I need you to do me a favor. And I said, okay. And I mean, I didn't understand. She was a spirit. It was really freaky. And so she said, I need you to go over across the street there and tell that lady in that brown house the message I'm about to give you. And I said, okay, sure. So I stood up, and I really wasn't supposed to go across the street because I was only about 6 years old. And so I go across the street. I walk up on the porch, knock on the door, and the lady answered the door, and I said, I have a message from you from that lady across the street. Her name is Agnes. And the lady's mouth kind of dropped open, and I didn't think anything of it, And so I told her, I said, she wants me to tell you that the ring that you've been looking for is in a shoebox in the back of the closet on the top shelf. And she goes, so where is this woman? I said, she's right over there. And just before I got the word there out, I pointed over there next to the tree, and she was gone. And I said, well, she was standing over there. And she said, well, what does she look like? And I kind of described her to the woman, and she said, it was like this switch flipped, and she got really mad at me. I mean, she knew my mom. You know, it wasn't like she was a stranger or anything, but she knew my mom. And she said, "You need to go home now." And I said, "Okay." So I turned around, walked back down the stairs, ran over, grabbed my dolls by the tree, went in the house. And no sooner did I walk in the door and back to the kitchen where my mom was sitting on the phone, she turned around and gave me that mom look, you know, like you don't move.
Oh, yes. Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, she gave me that mom look and said, "Don't move." And kind of pointed at me. I said, "Okay." And so she goes, "Well, I'll call you back in a little bit," whoever she was talking to. And come to find out, it was the woman across the street. And she said, "Sandy, why did you go across the street and tell that woman that message?" I said, "Because there was a lady out in our yard, and she told me to tell her, you know, what she wanted me to say." She said, "You know you're not supposed to go across the street." And I said, "I know, but she seemed like a nice lady, and you guys always taught me to be nice to old people." You know, I was a little kid. So my mom says, "Well, she wants you to know that the ring that you told her that was in the closet, she found it."
Wow.
And see, the woman, Agnes, was her mother, who had died about a year before.
No kidding.
Yeah, yeah. And that was my first experience. And I'm telling you, Dave, the strangest things started happening after that. It was like she opened a door to communication with me. And it was like, I always described it kind of like a bunch of people standing in a line, you know, waiting to talk to me. I know it's kind of like a movie thing, but that's what it seemed like anyway.
It's almost like that scene in the movie Ghost where Whoopi Goldberg is playing the psychic who's basically, you know, screwing people over for their cash, and then all of a sudden she allows the one spirit in, and then next thing you know, it's like a bank lineup. Everybody's waiting to talk to you, isn't it?
Exactly. That's what it felt like to me anyway. And I you know, and then they wouldn't leave me alone. And I slept in the same room with my sisters. I have an oldest sister who's like 10 years older than me, and then my other sister who's 4 years older than me, and I have a brother too, but you know, he had his own room, of course. But we slept in the same room, and my sister would get so mad at me because these spirits that would come to me, the unfortunate thing was they were coming to me in their death form, like kind of bloody, you know, like, did you ever see the movie Signs, or no, it was it Signs, or the one with Bruce Willis and that little kid who
The Sixth Sense.
Thank you. It was kind of in a sense like that, where every once in a while one would come to me like with, you know, I could see how they died. Not necessarily they looked like that, but I could see how they died. Their energy fed that to me, you know. And it was really scary. And as you can imagine, for a 6-year-old, you know, not to know exactly what the heck was going on. But then, you know, as time went by, things got easier for me, and I started communicating with them, and then they just kind of randomly came in and out. But I mean, I had some pretty scary experiences too. One of the guys that would come and see me all the time seemed to be dressed in black. He always wore this hat, this black top hat. And yeah, he just stood and stared at me. He would never say anything to me or never communicate with me. So that was one of my scary ones. But otherwise, they were pretty good, you know, and I got used to them pretty quick. So, yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to follow up with. At what point in life, at the age, did you finally say, "This is my life. I have to get used to this"?
Well, you know, the crazy thing was that I went through a period from about the age of 12 until about the age of 21, where I really didn't communicate a lot with spirits. It's like I closed them off. And the reasoning behind that was I went through 3 grandparents dying within months of each other, and trying to figure out about death then, you know, because I didn't understand it, and I didn't understand why my grandparents, if I was supposed to be doing this for a living, or, you know, to help people, then why did my grandparents get taken? You know, so I was pretty angry with God at that time, and I went through, the whole teenage rebellion kind of thing, and then I met this guy, and I ended up getting married the first time, and he was very abusive. So that kind of, I found one thing about psychic abilities or mediumship abilities is that you have a tendency, your emotions have a tendency to play havoc on your abilities. And yeah, so I went through about, like I said, but from about, 12 to about 21, I went through a real bad patch where I really didn't want to talk to anybody. I was still angry about my grandparents dying, and because I was very close to all of them. And then my other grandmother died in 1976, a few years later. And so I didn't have any grandparents left. I was angry with the world, basically. And now it's just part of everyday life. So after that point, it was part of everyday life again. So
it's one of those things where you just have to get used to it. But do you truly ever get used to it, SJ?
No, never. The reason being is because you end up finding out that you have all these things, this knowledge and almost like a wisdom about the other side that you cannot possibly explain to anybody else. Because I had that near-death experience when I was 5. I went to the other side. I got to speak with, whether you want to call them angels but the guy that I spoke with, I'm actually writing a more in-depth detail of what happened when I did have my death experience. I don't call it a near-death because I actually died. So I went to the other side, so I call it a death experience. And that's in my new book, The Other Side of the Paranormal, coming out hopefully by the Paracon. So, yeah, I mean, this guy considered himself what he called a watcher. I'm almost, I'm kind of debating with that about whether he was actually like an angel or whether he was like an alien. I'm still, from what I know about aliens now, it's, kind of, back and forth on that. I'm not real sure.
Well, we can get into aliens tonight, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, Russ and I have had some experiences, so.
I want to slip in a quick question. We have about 3 minutes before we are going to go to break here, and this comes from Kat in the Spaced Out Radio chat room on Spreaker. She's asking, SJ, do you ever get woken up by someone wanting to talk to you in the middle of the night?
Not so much anymore because I've kind of set ground rules. I told them, look, when I'm sleeping, don't bother me. Because I had to kind of do like a night switch, like turn the lights on and turn them off at night, But when I was younger, yes, all the time. And I was getting sick from it. I actually got really, really sick. And excuse me, I have a little bit of sore throat tonight from playing in the sun all day. But anyway, so yeah, I ended up developing a really low iron in my body. I had to take medication for that. I ended up in the hospital a couple of times because I wasn't eating, I wasn't sleeping. And this was all right around the age of, maybe 8 or 9, somewhere in there. And so I ended up being out of school for just a short time, so I got better. And yeah, it can be kind of heartening when you got somebody visiting you 24 hours a day,
I can bet.
Yeah.
I am someone who started having my own experiences, as you've heard as a listener,
Yes.
4 years ago. So all of a sudden, even though I'm not getting woken up in the middle of the night, there is always that little bit of time right before I go to bed wondering what's going to happen tonight. So most of the time, I'm lucky. Nothing really does happen. But there is the odd night where I scratch my head and wonder, did I sleep through something? Because something seems a little off.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever get like that?
I understand that totally. Sometimes I do get woke up in the middle of the night with somebody tapping me on the shoulder or something, and I just say, look, I'm trying to sleep. Talk to me in the morning. The office is closed. Yeah. Yeah.
So what is the weirdest thing that you've ever been woken up to then, in regards to a spirit wanting to have communication?
Well, there's a lot, so if maybe you might want to wait until after the break. I have several, so yeah.
Well, we can get into that. Right after the break, because I think that's an interesting story. Like, do you get asked, are you making coffee this morning? What's for breakfast? Or do you get asked, hey, there used to be a roller coaster in these parts. Can you tell me where it went, or something along those lines? I have no idea. No idea.
Yeah.
But SJ, I'm going to get you to hold on. We're going to hop out for our first break of the night. We are talking with author S.J. Wells. She also runs Fog Paranormal with her husband Russ up in northwestern Washington State. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio Paranormal Talk tonight. We'll be back right after this.
Would you like to become one of our space travelers? All you have to do is click on the Space Travelers icon at spacedoutradio.com. For only $5 a month, you can get access to some great prizes, as well as private monthly shows, newsletters, and a members-only section on our website. Become a space traveler today.
Hi there. This is your medium, Joanna, from Spaced Out Weekend, 2 Mediums and a Large. I would love it if you would come and join us with host James Tyson every other Sunday on Spaced Out Weekend. Together, we will take your calls and your questions live. Our goal is to provide you with a positive outlook on deep questions that you may have. Questions regarding love, relationships, money, or whatever else is on your mind. Come and check us out at spacedoutradio.com.
Every Saturday and Sunday night, as Dave Scott wanders aimlessly in the wilderness, you can come hang out with me, James Tyson, in Spaced Out Weekend. Starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, I'll take you along as we talk with some of the best experts in their fields. SpacedOutRadio.com is the place to find us. So sit down, relax, put your feet up. Enjoy the topics like the paranormal, supernatural, intuitiveness, and so much more. Hope to see you there.
Hey everybody, this is Patrick Webster Small, and I'm here to bring you the Webster Phenomena every Saturday night, live at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern. If you're looking for aliens and extraterrestrials, well, we've got them. Big and tall, short and small. You're bound to find what you're looking for. So join me on the Webster Phenomena right here on Spaced Out Radio.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. With their money-back guarantee and the many benefits, how can you afford not to get one? Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com for mind, body, and spirit, and expect a miracle.
Have you ever wondered about those weird and strange creatures people have reported throughout history? Do you wonder if those stories are real? Me too, and that's why I started Cryptopia.us. Hey, this is Rob Morphy, crypto historian. Join me once a month on Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott, where we will get into the odd and bizarre reports, from the Dover Demon to hairy hominids and everything in between. I will break down what people like you and me are seeing at spacedoutradio.com.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost?
Look no further than Spaced Out Radio.
SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click on to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on radio
or our website, including social media.
From commercial spots to banners, we have it all.
Check out our competitive pricing today.
Hi there, I'm Butch Witkowski, lead investigator with the 4 Cop. On the final Monday of every month, you can listen to me and host Dave Scott on Spaced Out Radio's Strange Days. We're going to get to the heart of the matter when it comes to what's happening out there. People are seeing and experiencing things from ET contact to Bigfoot, and I want to hear about it. Your experiences are what we investigators need to help solve these unknown mysteries. So tune in at spacedoutradio.com to the final Monday of every month from Butch Witkowski's Strange Days.
Want to connect with us online? Find us on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show, on Twitter @Spaced Out Radio, on Instagram, Dave Scott SOR, on YouTube, Spaced Out Radio Show, and our website is spacedoutradio.com. All right, space travelers, here comes the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio. Welcome back to Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Good to have you with us. Tomorrow night on the show, it's the SOR Roundtable. We end the month with the Roundtable. It's a paranormal roundtable where I will be joined by Eric Squared, Corrine, Joey Giggles, Elizabeth Anglin, and it's going to be a good time indeed. Also, if you are a space traveler, like Bill Cardwell is, you are going to automatically be entered into our prize draw. We are giving away a prize tomorrow night, but you have to be a member of the SOR Space Travelers Club, which you can join at spacedoutradio.com. Join today. It's only $5 a month. If you want to follow us on social media, you can do so on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, I can be followed at Dave Scott SOR. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. And, of course, our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have also just told you about the SOR Space Travelers Club. You can also check out our music from the guitar god Ron Bumblefoot THAL, formerly of Guns N' Roses. Read my blog. This week it's on the paranormal. You can comment right below it. You can read some other blogs as well. Check out who we're affiliated with. And, of course, you can read the SOR Spacewire, our news section by director Eric Markham. Tonight we are talking with S.J. Wells. She is a paranormal author in both fiction and nonfiction. She also runs Fog Paranormal way up in northwestern Washington State. I can probably see your house from where I am, way up on the hills of British Columbia. How are you, S.J.?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
Right before the break, we were talking about you getting woken up at night. And you have some pretty interesting stories about spirits waking you up at night. I would love it if you shared a few of those.
Well, I think I didn't really start getting a lot of visitors until we moved to this one house. It was like an old farmhouse. And then I started getting some really strange experiences. Probably one of the first recollections I can remember is when the day we moved in. I was standing out by the car after we had pulled up, and our dad was like, telling us, okay, you go do that, kind of directing everybody what they had to do. And I was standing there just kind of daydreaming, so to speak, and I looked up at the window, which was going to be mine and my sister's room. And there's a little girl standing in the window and looking at me, and I'm going, okay, that's strange. And I thought, well, I know we don't have anybody moving in with us, so this must be a spirit. And so I went, the first night after we had moved in, I remember getting tapped on my toe. I was asleep. And I kind of raised my head up a little bit and looked, and there's this little girl standing there at the end of my bed. And she was giggling, like, it was like she was trying to tickle my toe, I guess. I don't know, but she was giggling. But I really didn't see her that often. It was really strange. It was like she, hid a lot in our attic, from what I found out later. And then there was also another spirit there that he was not so nice. I had some really difficult times with him. And he would try to pull me off the bed and, that kind of thing. There was also a little boy spirit that came to visit us, or came to visit me, I should say, in that house. And he would come every day almost after I'd get home from kindergarten. And, we'd sit there on the floor in my bedroom and play. And my sister I could hear my sister coming down the hall, and she'd walk in the door and say, "Who are you talking to?" "Oh, just talking to my dolls," and she never questioned it, so, I didn't tell her, but we would sit there and talk for hours. I mean, she would get home later because she had a job after school, and yeah, I had some really, really funny things, like I'd be in the kitchen, and and I'd be helping my mom with something, and I'd turn around, there'd be the little girl standing there or the little boy standing there, and I'd start giggling, and my mom would turn around because they'd do something strange, like walk through the table or something, and I'd start laughing, and my mom would say, "What are you laughing about?" "Oh, nothing. I was just thinking about something funny, And yeah, I mean, just weird little things like that you, and going places and walking down the sidewalk or something and seeing some, I don't know, older man standing across the street and waving at me, just strange things that nobody really could see but me. And so they probably thought I was really losing it at times, because I come up with the weirdest things, say weird things, and yeah, it was an interesting experience when I was a kid, that's for sure.
Are you still visited that often by spirit, or have you been one of the lucky ones where you've been able to turn it off?
I just turn it off when I want to. A matter of fact, I haven't really done much of any spirit communication for about, I don't know, probably 6 months, because we've had a lot going on, and you know how summer gets, it gets really crazy busy, and me trying to write my books and everything else, so I kind of push them away because I really don't need that distraction, because they can be very distracting at times, and so especially now, because I've got deadlines, I've got 2 books I've got to get out before the Paracon, and so yeah, that's been interesting. My daughter's partner passed away last year, and we've been trying to convince her that she doesn't need to come visit as much as she was, and yeah, that took a little time, so that kind of pulled me away from my books last year, but I'm back on track now, thankfully.
So at what time did you start to move your gifts into paranormal investigation?
Well, when I met Russ, actually, because he actually is sensitive himself. He's not as strong. He doesn't use his abilities as much as I do, but he can give you dates and names. Where I don't really get names that often. Every once in a while, unless they're very insistent, they don't really go by names anyway, unless you know them, obviously. It's like a loved one or something has passed away. But Russ gets, I know it's going to sound crazy, but when he gets something, it's like he'll hear a song, or he'll think of or a movie will pop into his head, like the name of the movie or the actor that played the part or whatever. And for instance, we did a place in Concrete, and whoever comes to Paracon, we'll tell them about this later, but we were in the Legion, and we were in the back room, and he kept getting this song by God, what's that guy's name? Oh, darn it, Waylon Jennings. Okay. And so he's going, what the heck is that about? Because he doesn't like country music, so that was pretty interesting. So he walks walking around the room, and checking out the names on, the plaques and things like that. And he goes to the very back of the room, and there's this big plaque. And at the very top of the names is the first guy who actually, organized the Legion in that area, in Concrete. And his name was W. Jennings. So yeah, he gets things like that, and he gets dates pretty good. So,
tell us about your near-death experience. What happened there, and what did you see?
Well, I'll give you kind of a short version of it because it's in my new book, and I don't want to give too much away. But I had double pneumonia when I was 5 years old. And I was admitted to the hospital. I was very, very sick. And, back then, let's see, that would have been 1964. No, 63. I was laying on the bed, and they always put oxygen tent over, the bed. And it would cover the whole bed from head to foot and side to side. And so I was laying there, and it was kind of strange because I, excuse me, I could feel, I was like feel myself lifting from my body, if that makes any sense. And everything went kind of, excuse me, I got to tickle myself. I saw this light come on in the room, and I thought it was the nurse. And it was kind of a purplish light. It kind of enveloped the whole room. It started out real small, and it kind of enveloped the whole room. And then all of a sudden I seen this woman standing next to the bed. She was pretty tall, and she started to lift the side of the oxygen tent, and everything went dark. And the next recollection I remember is standing next to her, looking back at my body, and communicating with her with our minds, not with our mouths, you know. And I asked her if that was my body, and she shook her head yes. And then all of a sudden it was like she grabbed hold of my hand, or whatever, I don't know, or my energy, I guess you would say, and we went up like through the ceiling, and all of a sudden we're whooshing along, and I see this pinpoint of light in the distance, and it gets bigger and bigger, and all of a sudden it's like we're part of that light. And we end up in this place, I don't know, some people might call it heaven. I just call it home, because that's where we come from. And she's taking me and showing me things in these big structures, and the surroundings were just brilliant and luminescent. You know, it's like everything was see-through, but it wasn't. I can't explain it any better than that. Then she takes me into this building, and it's the biggest building I've ever seen. I mean, the hallway was as long as the eye could see, and on both sides were doors, big, huge doors. And I asked her, mind to mind, what this place was, and she said that it was a place for re-entry. And that's exactly what she said, was re-entry. And I'm thinking, what the heck is that, you know? I didn't know what that meant, you know. I was a kid, and even then it was like I had more knowledge. It was kind of strange. I had more knowledge of what was going on around me, but I didn't, in another sense, I was still a kid, you know. And so we go into this room, and it's this huge marble-looking type, I don't know, pillars and floor and everything. And in the center of the room was these garden-looking type benches in a circle. And sitting on one of those was a man that he kind of held out his hand or whatever to me. And so I go sit next to him, and I don't know, it seemed like we talked like forever, but there's no time there. Time is totally relevant when you're there. And he's telling me about different things and why I need to go back, and that I have a lot of people to help, and I mean, just lots of things. But there were certain things that he would not allow me to remember, and he told me that. He says, as you as a human goes by, you will start recalling things a little bit at a time, because I want you to tell people what you saw and what you heard here, so that they have hope, you know. And so finally, our conversation was done. His name was Aiden, by the way, and he called himself a watcher. And he talked about us being their children. I asked him if he was God. He said no. He said, but there is a being that, you know, people would consider God. And, you know, so I ended up, the woman took me back, and it was like I plunked back into my body. And the next day when I woke up, or when it got daylight, I should say, all of a sudden I was healed. There was no sign of the pneumonia. I had no fever, and I had energy. I mean, I had so much energy, you wouldn't believe.
A near-death experience is always life-changing for those who have had it. How did this, all of a sudden, having this experience, push you into the direction that it led you?
You know, I was raised in the church, but now I'm real, you know, over the years, I after starting to remember what Aiden told me, I started realizing that church or religion, not faith, but religion, is man-made, and it's a control thing, and they try to keep us in fear so that we fear God, but God is not nothing to be afraid of. He's pure love, pure, and that's the best way to describe it. He's I can't even say the word, infinite love, pure, simple.
And you know what? I can understand that with what you're saying, because when I started having all of my experiences, which started off it started off with channeling, went straight to paranormal. I didn't even know what channeling was at that time. Mm-hmm. And then it went to paranormal, and then into cryptid, and then into the UFOs and extraterrestrials, almost like it was a different chapter every few months that was happening. Right. The one thing that I have always said to people is, my experiences brought me closer to believing in God and believing in a higher power, but it also made me realize all those times when I was younger and didn't know what was going on, and when I say younger, I'm saying in my 20s and 30s, that I didn't know what was going on, where I would go to church and I wouldn't be able to understand why I disliked the people in there so much, even though I didn't know them. And looking back on it now, it's almost like the empath inside of myself was saying, okay, that guy feels like he is a little bit off when it comes to people. This person was drunk at the bar last night. This person cheats on their husband. You know what I'm saying? So it all added up. And then I started realizing, well, God is giving me these messages to believe, because look what he's showing me. Do I really need to have a church and pay a church in order to find my own way? Exactly.
Yeah. And my parents got really mad at me. I want you to know this. And they got really mad at me when I told them I was not going to church anymore. And they said, you're going to go to hell. I said, well, you know, honestly, Mom and Dad, there is no hell. We live hell right here on this earth as humans, and every experience and every bad thing that happens to us is supposed to happen to us, and we're everything that we are meant to learn. And the result of all that is just two things: learning to forgive and learning to love, pure love. And that's it. That is our ultimate goal. That's what Aiden told me. No matter what we learn, no matter what we experience, it is meant to happen. And if you're good or bad or indifferent, it doesn't matter. You're still going home. It doesn't matter.
Did it comfort you to know that the spirit lives on?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. But I kind of, after my near-death or my death experience, I actually knew that already. So I knew that we had to go someplace. Because they weren't there with me all the time, and I had several of them. I asked them, you know, I said, well, where do you guys go when you leave me? Oh, we go back home. Well, where's home? I can't tell you. They wouldn't tell me, and that's what got frustrating. And I think that's why I got into paranormal investigations, is because I wanted answers, and I wanted the truth, you know.
No, very understandable. So you mentioned with Russ that you guys decided to start going on paranormal investigation. Mm-hmm. Do you recall your first investigation and what that was like, because you were stepping into a different realm here?
Mm-hmm. It was a little weird. The first one was the guy up on the roof at the motel we lived at. And apparently, from what we figured out and from what we were told by the people that lived there, that knew this guy, he had actually fallen off the roof and hit the parking lot and broke his neck. And he had died, and he didn't know that he was dead. And so I had to convince him to move on. Now, see, sometimes that's more difficult for people in real life because they have choice and free will just like we do. You hear about people doing cleansings and things like that. Well, yeah, that's good. It kind of calms them down and binds them a little bit so they can't be misbehaving, But the thing is they come back if they want to. You can't force them to leave. You can't make them stay away. They're going to come back if they want to, and there's nothing you really can do about it.
So how did you know that this gentleman who fell off the roof had never left or didn't know that he was deceased?
He told me. Because after I told him, I told him that, I said, you know that you've passed on, right? And he didn't know. And he kind of got really sad at that point, and I told him, it's okay, I'll help you move into the light if you let me, and I did. And I'm going to tell you about that. Can I tell you about that for a second? Because
sure,
moving people into the light is the most energy draining experience that you'll ever have. Because what happens is the gateway opens basically, and all of a sudden you're getting like a rush of energy that hits you, especially like an empath or a psychic or medium or whatever. It'll hit you. I had this experience one time, and I actually felt my legs gave out on me. It was such a harsh energy. But it was a loving energy, too. So it didn't hurt me. It just overwhelmed me at the time. And so that first experience, the first experience as a paranormal investigator, doing that was very, very interesting, to say the least. Yeah, so I did get him to cross, though, which was good.
So when you're getting someone to cross, what do you actually go through to do that? Is it a long conversation, just talking with them?
That's it. I just talk to them. I do use sage and stuff when it's necessary, because, you get clients out there that all they want is just peace and quiet, from the paranormal activity going on in their house. But, in some cases you don't need to. You just need to talk to them and just tell them, look, it's time for you to go. You don't need to be here. Especially children. That one breaks my heart. So, children spirits, I work a lot with those. Yeah.
Well, take us through that, because a lot of people, SJ, are not familiar with sending a ghost to the light or how that works.
Okay. Well, in one particular case, I kind of give you like a random case that we actually did that. I was working with another psychic. We were using dowsing rods trying to get yes and no answers at the time because we weren't getting any real direct communication. So we were just using one dowsing rod, and we told them, okay, spin it to the left if you want to, you want us to know that it's yes, or spin it to the right if it's going to be no, whatever. And then by the time that we figured out what had happened, it was a little girl, and it was in a house up here actually in Custer, up here above Bellingham, and the people had seen her riding a bike and stuff like that, and they knew that she was there, and they asked us if we could help her move into the light, and so we started this process, and it took about 45 minutes of talking to her and making her realize that her mother was already in the light, because this was like, she had passed away like early 1900s, so we knew that her mother couldn't possibly still be around. So we told her that her mother was waiting on her. We could see me and the other psychic could envision the woman standing in the light waiting for her to bring her there, which does happen. Our relatives will come and help us into the light, so we're not sticking around here. We don't really have to do anything. They do it themselves. In this particular case, we talked to her, like I said, for about 45 minutes to an hour, till finally we got that energy surge and knew that the gate was open. And we just made her turn around and look for the light, and she went into the light. And it's not really that difficult. It's it's pretty simple. You have to be very compassionate, very honoring of their memories, you know. And in this, when it's little kids, it's not that difficult to get them to cross, really. You just have to remind them that they have people in the life that's waiting for them that love them, you know, love them, and there's no reason for them to be there anymore. They don't have to be scared to go into the light. Because sometimes the light scares spirits, and that's why they don't cross, you know.
So when you are investigating, do you use your own abilities, or are you someone who uses technology as well?
Yeah, I'm kind of a weird duck in that way, because I use both. I'm very spiritual, but I'm also very logical. When I see a photo or something, I'm the first, besides Russ, me and him getting little tiffs every once in a while, because I can see things in a photo and believe that I don't really need evidence, you know, to prove that they're spirits, and he'll go, well, you know, it could be this, could be this, could be this, and yeah, so we get little tips, but it's okay because I usually win. I say, okay, it can't be this because of this, and it can't be this because of this. Yeah, we get a little argument sometimes. We work together good.
On that note, we are going to hop out for a break here at the top of the hour. Our guest tonight is author S.J. Wells. She writes fiction and nonfiction when it comes to paranormal experiences. And S.J. and her husband Russ also run Fog Paranormal. That is out of northwestern Washington State, I believe in the Bellingham area. So, I know Bellingham very well. That's where I fly out to go to Las Vegas. So, you're listening to Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott. We'll be back right after this.
Greetings and salutations, space travelers, from the Chronicles of the Unknown team.
What is Chronicles of the Unknown? I keep hearing about this thing.
It's a new paranormal reality TV show based right here in beautiful British Columbia, Canada. Follow our team as we uncover claims of activity on the Caribou Gold Rush Trail. You can also follow us here every third Monday, where two members of our team will be available to answer your questions. We'll give you some equipment updates and some of our experiences on the road, right here on Spaced Out Radio on the Spreaker.com network.
Oh, there's only one way to rock. Loud and proud. In high definition. Radio 702 rocks. Las Vegas.
Do you believe you've been in contact with extraterrestrials? Have you seen the Greys, the Mantis, or the Reptilians? I am Samantha Mullet, and on the second Tuesday of each month, you can listen and learn from my experiences with off-worlders on Spaced Out Radio's The ET Experience. With host Dave Scott, we'll sit down and chat about what's going on with our friends from other worlds. We'll also try to answer your questions, so please tune in on the second Tuesday of the month, only on Spaced Out Radio.
Are you interested in advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Head to our website at spacedoutradio.com and click on our advertising tab. There, you will find an assortment of ways you can get your product out there with us, from radio commercials to banners and social media. Have a product you like our hosts to endorse? We can do that too. Visit spacedoutradio.com for more details.
Did you know that Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi, it's James Tyson from Spaced Out Weekend. Every Saturday and Sunday night, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, you can join me and my guests for some great chatter about what's going on out in the universe, or even in that dark part of the basement you really don't want to go back into. Well, let's find the answers to your experiences together. So come on up to Uncle Jimbo's cabin on the weekend. For more information, look us up at spacedoutradio.com.
From British Columbia to Northern California, Pacific North Weird has Cascadia covered. Check out our feature videos at spacedoutradio.com, where I, Vincent Zunza, and my super sleuth partner Alexandra Sullivan track down the weird and strange stories from around the Pacific Northwest. From Bigfoot to Mel's Hole and everything in between. This is what makes life exciting. So why report the normal when we can report the Pacific North Weird? right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Attention Spaced Out Radio listeners. For only $5 a month, you can join Spaced Out Radio Space Travelers. Your membership at spacedoutradio.com will give you access to private fan area on the website, get you a monthly newsletter, draws for monthly swag, and a whole lot more. Sign up today to become a part of the Spaced Out Radio experience.
Right here, this is where we divulge the fruit of our research. Here on the Webster Phenomena every Saturday night at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern on Spaced Out Radio. And we give it up to you guys, all the listeners, and the live listeners usually get something special and hang out in the chat room. And we love to have you. So we'll see you every Saturday night at 8 p.m. You know where.
If you're a fan of social media, you can follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. You can also follow us on Instagram, Dave Scott, SOR. Our YouTube channel, where our archives are stored, is Spaced Out Radio Show. And of course, our website is spacedoutradio.com. Welcome back to the second hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Good to have you with us. Tomorrow night, we get back into one of our most popular shows. We round out the month with the SOR Paranormal Roundtable. That's tomorrow night, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time. I'll be joined by a panel of guests where we will talk about topics of the unknown, the paranormal, the weird, the wacky. Sometimes it's political, sometimes it's just insane. And that's just Donald Trump. That's tomorrow night on Spaced Out Radio at spacedoutradio.com. And tomorrow night we will also be making our first prize draw for the SOR Space Travelers Club. We're going to do that the final Friday of every month. I'm excited to finally get this going. Tomorrow night we have a really cool book as a prize. So, if you're a space traveler, you will be entered into that draw tomorrow night. Automatically. So sign up for it today. It's only $5 a month. Remember, you can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, I can be followed at Dave Scott, SOR. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. That's where we put our archives. And our website is spacedoutradio.com. Tonight we are interviewing S.J. Wells. She is a psychic medium, intuitive, leader of Fog Paranormal with her husband Russ, as well as an author, including Haunted, a True Story, which can be found on Amazon. S.J., welcome back.
Thank you. I'm here.
Let's talk about the paranormal for a little bit. You've been doing this for 35 years.
About 37, actually.
Okay, 37. In your 37 years, what is the biggest change you have seen in the paranormal?
Oh, boy. You really want to get me started on that? Okay. Now, Russ and I have done this, up until about the year 2002 when we formed Fog Paranormal. And when the TV shows started hitting the airwaves, that was like a breath of fresh air for a lot of paranormal investigators who've been doing this a very long time. And then all of a sudden, it was like somebody turned on a switch and everybody started getting all this ego and excuse my language, fame whoring, wanting to have a TV show. And then all of a sudden we had all these paranormal celebrities, and it was just craziness, and it's gotten worse. And a lot of longtime investigators we're really afraid that all this hard work that we've done over so many years is going to get thrown back in the closet again, because people are like, I can't really explain it other than they are getting crazy. You put evidence out there to try and, share it with the world, because for us it's still exciting, to get a really good photo or a really good video of paranormal activity, and then all of a sudden you got these young whippersnappers, if you want to call them that. I'm kind of old, so I'd talk a lot of, but anyway, and all of a sudden everything changed. Everything got ego-based and fame-based, and it wasn't about the truth anymore. The paranormal became a joke, and it's back to being a joke again. You know, I mean, I still have people that come up to me and say, "Oh, wow, you guys do ghost hunting." No, I'm not a ghost hunter. I am a paranormal investigator. Big difference. You know, a lot of people don't think there's a big difference, but there really is. But
well, define that big difference, though.
Okay, a paranormal investigator, a true paranormal investigator, is one that is seeking the answers to the afterlife. And that's for the ghost side of it. There's UFOs also. There's also Bigfoot, cryptozoology, all that stuff. I think, I'm like with Eric Cooper, I agree with him when it comes to that, because I think it all falls under the realm of paranormal. So, yeah, we're kind of learning. Eric's learning from us. We're learning from him about UFOs, and it's pretty interesting because there's a lot of correlation there. You know, so yeah. Paranormal. Okay, I'm sorry, I got sidetracked. I'm tired. Sorry.
That's okay.
Paranormal investigator, a true paranormal investigator, wants to find answers, but also can and will believe without evidence if the opportunity comes forward. A ghost hunter is somebody who just grabbed the camera, seen it on TV, oh yeah, now I know how to do this, and they run out to the first cemetery or whatever that they find and think just catching evidence is what it's all about, and it's not. It's about helping people. It's about seeking the truth. It's about dignity. It's about honor. It's about respect. It's about counseling, you know, teaching people what you know, trying to pass all that along. And that's why I'm right now in the process, me and Russ are in the process of training our granddaughters to be ghost hunters for the next generation. So, and getting ready to teach other kids too.
We've talked a lot on this show recently with Joni Mahan and Kirsten A. Thorne recently about the problems that are in the paranormal now with the ego, with longtime investigators just saying they've had enough.
Mm-hmm.
Are there too many investigators out there, in your opinion, that are just playing an extreme sport here with the dead, or rather than trying to figure out what they should be doing with their evidence and what they should be trying to solve mystery-wise?
Yeah. To me, a paranormal investigation is like a puzzle, okay? If you're a medium, there's certain parts that you play that puts a piece into the puzzle to solve, information about the spirit, okay, that the people are encountering or whatever. Then you have the paranormal investigator who has to be logical and, sort out all the details, the historical details about the property, about the building, about, a multitude of things. And then, then you got ghost hunters, like I was talking about before, who feel like, okay, my job is, this is what the way a ghost hunter thinks, or at least most of them. I know some people that call themselves ghost hunters, and they're great people, and they're great investigators. But some, the younger people, that were never really trained, how to do paranormal investigations is very important. You cannot go online, you cannot get a certificate and say, hey, I'm a paranormal investigator, or I'm a ghost hunter. Whoopie-doo. It doesn't work that way. It takes long, arduous hours away from your family, on hours that you don't really have time to spend because you got a job the next day. I mean, it's a hard job, and people say, oh, it's just a hobby. No, it's not. If you're a true paranormal investigator, it is a job, and you have certain obligations that you have to fulfill, just like any other job. And that's my point, my feeling about it. Anyway.
And I fully agree, and I'd like to continue this topic for a little bit, if you don't mind, because one of the biggest beefs, and I wrote this in my latest blog at spacedoutradio.com about why I hate the paranormal, well, sort of.
Yeah.
Okay, is the lack of education in regards to this. I have talked to a lot of paranormal teams over my 19 months of doing Spaced Out Radio. Most of them, believe it or not, behind the scenes. And I asked them, and they're like, hey, we'd love to be a guest on your show. Wonderful. What do you do? Well, I'm a paranormal investigator. Great. What do you investigate? Well, we'll go to the hotels, we'll go to the restaurants, we'll go to prisons, we'll go wherever, you know. Great. Then you ask the question, or I always ask the question, what do you do with your evidence? Well, we collect it and go through it. Wonderful. What do you do with it? Well, we collect it for our database. Yeah, I know that, but what do you do with it? And it's amazing when you ask that question, how many people don't know the answer to that in the paranormal field.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree. Here's the thing. When you do a investigation for a client who has called you and says, and they're desperate to find out what is going on in their home, for instance, a lot of paranormal investigators or ghost hunters anymore do not like to do residential investigations because they feel that it is too personal. And I hate to tell them this, it is very personal to these people that are being frightened in their homes because they have no idea what is going on. There is like I said before, there is an obligation that we have to go in. You do certain things. You do an interview. You make sure that it's not because of a medical issue, you know, or a mental issue that you're seeing or experiencing this phenomena. When you ask, when an investigator, a true investigator, does what they're supposed to do, they go in, they do a walkthrough, they do an interview, they counsel the people, then they have the investigation, and then after the investigation, we analyze all the evidence that we gathered, then we put it all together, all the historical stuff, everything, pictures, video, everything. It all gets put into like a file folder. You take that file folder, you make an appointment with the people that you just did the investigation for, and you go back and you reveal that evidence. And this is the problem that I'm sorry, this really irritates me. This really irritates me. Is when an investigation team goes in, they gather the evidence, and the people are looking forward to finding out what is going on in their home or their business or their property, and they never see these people again. They just disappear. They try to the client will try and contact them, no answers, nothing. And then they have to bring in another investigation team and hope to God they're professional enough to get the job done. And it's one of I'm really sorry about this, but it's one of those little things that really turns on my switch. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I apologize to your listeners. I get really angry about it.
Well, and you know what? It's okay to be angry about that, because if people aren't getting angry about it, then the problem gets swept under the rug, SJ. And let's face it, the more we see on television where everything is a demon, the more we see people using television as their education on investigative technique, the less that people are going to take these investigations seriously. And let's face it, there is no education or proper education of parapsychology out there. If so, it is extremely limited. And these people are having to learn on the fly on what is happening. They think going out and spending thousands of dollars on equipment is going to do it, right? All you need, you go to a free website builder, you build yourself a website, you come up with some acronym that stands for RIP or death or ghost or spirit, and you get some t-shirts made up, and boom, you're a professional paranormal investigative team.
Yeah, exactly.
And it doesn't build a lot of trust.
No, it doesn't. And then when they go and they forget to, or they conveniently forget to go back and give the client the answers that they need, then it makes us even look worse. Because then, you're talking about the places that they go, oh yeah, I've been to Waverly, I've been to this and that and the other, and I'm a paranormal investigator. Well, I hate to disagree. I really do, because if someone thinks that makes them a paranormal investigator, boy, oh boy, they got a lot to learn.
For sure. And I remember talking a year ago in April to one of Canada's best known and one of the world's best known Bigfoot investigators, John Bindernagel. He's 82 years old, and he's still running around the forest trying to track down a Bigfoot.
Right.
And I remember talking to him about it because he actually, believe it or not, I was absolutely stunned when I attended this conference in Vancouver. I was stunned that he actually came up to me because somebody had tipped him off that I had an experience with 2 Bigfoot. And he wanted to know all about it. Heck, he was ready to leave the building now, right at that moment, to go out to where it happened. But the whole point that I'm saying is, in my 20-30 minutes that I got to talk with him one-on-one, I asked him point blank, I said, John, you've been doing this for almost 70 years, because he started as a teenager looking for Bigfoot. I said, what do you think of these television shows? And all this, these weird investigations. And, he wasn't mad. I don't think that's his persona. He wasn't upset, but you could see the disappointment on his face. Like 70 years of investigation, almost flushed down the toilet with the stupid connotation of Squatch. Okay, It's not Squatch, it's Bigfoot or Sasquatch.
Exactly.
Okay, with, somebody, hearing rustling in a tree 15 feet away, that's a Squatch. Well, no, it could be a raccoon, it could be a possum, it could be a rabbit, could be anything. And he understood that it was made for TV and made for ratings and everything like that. And like he said, in his best Canadian way, I'm sure they're good guys. But in the end, it's tough for me to see him go through that, because it's almost like 70 years of research. I'm trying to get my fellow scientist, because he is a scientist, to take this seriously, that this creature exists, and then this television shows come along and pretty much ruin everything. Do you feel the same thing about the paranormal?
I do. Yeah. Honestly, when the first TV show came out, a lot of investigators were really happy because it kind of opened the door for us. And we started getting a lot of investigations. Now, Russ and I, when we first started, the only guide we really had to start doing this was Ed and Lorraine Warren, and also Hans Holzer, who read his book. And that's kind of how we got started. Because, you'd see specials on TV and stuff, even back then, about ghosts and things like that. And so we kind of set foot out there like that. And as time has gone by, we found out that there's so much more that we didn't know when we first started. And I honestly think that if people would allow longtime investigators, say like me and Russ, or, oh gosh, there's so many people out there that I could name, but I don't think I should probably on the air, that are longtime investigators and really good people and really good investigators. I mean, that could teach these new people so much if they would just let us. And then we wouldn't have this problem of ego and realizing that it's not about fame. It's about a science. It's about a research that needs to be answered. That, just like UFOs, we need to know more about that. And people just laugh it off like it's some kind of joke, and it's not. It's very important. Very important work.
And I agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
One of the words that has come up recently with the paranormal on this show a couple of times in the last couple of weeks is the word science.
Right.
What do you think when you hear teams go out there saying, we are looking for scientific evidence that spirits exist?
Okay, let's try and break this down. But okay, science. I actually didn't mean to say the word science because I don't believe that any paranormal investigator, unless they are a true scientist. I mean, actually, that's what they do in their life. Is they're a scientist. I don't think we are scientists. I think that what instead they should be saying is that we are technologically trying to prove the existence of ghosts. Because of the equipment we use, which isn't really based on science. It's just something that people came up with that I really don't use anyway. I'm a really basic, old school kind of investigator. I use a video camera, a digital camera, a UV camera, and a voice recorder, and sometimes an EMF meter, but I don't really need it, so I don't usually use one. And that's what I use. I don't use EM pods. I don't use all this voice box stuff they're using now. Because one, I don't really need it, and two, I can do a real-time EVP session and get just as much information as they think they're getting with all these words that are coming out of this box. It doesn't make any sense half the time. Yeah, I just think there's so much that people don't understand about investigating and this whole science thing. I don't think that they have any right to say that it's scientific. I think it's technological maybe, but because they're using equipment, but science, no. Mm-mm.
And that's my pet peeve, is they throw around a lot of these people out there, whether it's in Bigfoot hunting, whether it's in the paranormal for spirits and investigation, they throw around that word science a little bit too frivolously, in my opinion.
Yes.
If you have a scientific degree, like for instance, reading Matt here in the SOR Space Travelers, he's saying, I have a science degree, but I like to keep an open mind. I have Eric Markham, our SOR Spacewire news director. He has a degree in science. They have backgrounds in science.
Absolutely.
If one of them comes up to me and says, I've started a paranormal team and we're looking into the science of the paranormal, I'm going to believe them. Okay. Now, that's not to say that if Joe Smith from whatever paranormal group came up to me and said, we're looking for the scientific approach, okay, or the scientific answers to this, it's not that I'm not going to believe them, but I'm not going to hold them to the same credibility as someone with a science degree.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah. Because most of the chance, unless you're studying science on the background, and, you know, much like people study ham radio or model airplanes or whatever it may be, okay, you're not a scientist. You're not looking, you're playing with ghosts trying to figure out if something real is real or something is not. But don't give me this crap that you're a scientist, right? And especially in these fields, okay, I have had Bigfoot people come on this show, and I'm not going to name names because they're good people. They mean well. Saying, we're looking for the scientific proof that Bigfoot exists. Okay, there's 3 ways to get that. Hair, scat, and a body. That's the only way.
Yeah.
So most of them have 2 out of the 3. Okay, but here's the thing. If you're looking for the scientific plausibility of this creature, how are you eliminating possibilities and theories with what the First Nations say, with what experiencers say, where they've seen tracks in the snow, walking along a path, and all of a sudden the tracks disappear? Right? So you can't sit there and tell me that you're a scientist. Don't do that. You're giving up your credibility right off the bat.
No. I would like to think of myself as kind of a specialist in a certain area. You know, I'm a specialist in the fact that I have been doing this a long time. And here's the problem with scientific approach is when you're doing any kind of research, not research, but a scientific approach to, say, ghost hunting or ghosts or whatever. We have learned, Russ and I, over the years, you cannot, and you know, you've heard this on TV too, but it is actually true. You cannot ask a ghost to perform on cue. This is not a play. They don't come out on stage and they don't do certain things. That's just the way it is. Unless you have a specific way to make a ghost do exactly what you ask them to do, you will never get the evidence that you need as a scientist. So I agree with you. You cannot say you are doing scientific work without being or having a way to do the research. And right now, there's no way for us to capture ghosts. There's no, I mean, I don't care what you see on Ghostbusters, it just don't happen. So, yeah. I just don't like the implication that scientific puts on the paranormal.
And on that note, SJ, I'm going to get you to hold on here. We're going to hop out for our break at the bottom of the hour. Our guest tonight is S.J. Wells. She's an author. You can find her books, including Haunted, A True Story, on Amazon. She also, with her husband Russ, leads Fog Paranormal, been investigating 37-plus years. She knows what she's talking about. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott. We'll be back right after this.
Have you ever had an extraterrestrial experience? One you just couldn't explain? Well, maybe I can help. Hello, I am Samantha Mullet. On the second Tuesday of each month, I will join Dave Scott on Spaced Out Radio to bring a human aspect to ET contact. It's something I've lived with my entire life, and I'd love to help you understand. Let's share our experiences. The ET Experience, the second Tuesday of each month, only on Spaced Out Radio.
Fairies? Bigfoot? Dogmen? Trolls? Goblins? Hey, if it's cryptid in any way, I'm looking into it. Hi there, this is author Ronald Murphy, also known as Spaced Out Radio's Crypto Guru. Join me every second Wednesday of the month on Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott, where we will talk about the stories people call tall tales. I will fill you in on the latest sightings and the hidden histories that are causing quite a stir. You can find everything at spacedoutradio.com.
Hi there, this is Jolene with Rivulet Reiki and Readings, and I want you to relax. Let me help you chill out and get in touch with your body, mind, and soul. In this busy world, sometimes we need to let go, and this is where I can help. Visit my website, rivuletrndr.wix.com/rivuletrndr, or my Facebook page, Rivulet R&R, to set up an appointment for relaxation, Reiki, or readings, no matter where you are. It's time for you to make time for you.
Would you like to expand your clientele? Have you ever thought of online radio advertising? Check out spacedoutradio.com to get your name out there. Our listeners support those who advertise with us, so why not give it a try? We have the most competitive advertising prices out there. Just click on the advertising tab on spacedoutradio.com and contact us today.
Are you an ET experiencer, but you just don't know what's going on? Are you too timid or shy to discuss it with anyone? Maybe I can help. Join me, R. Keith Andrews, the first Friday of every month on Spaced Out Radio, and I will help you to find the answers you're looking for. Together, I will help you understand the off-worlders and the true meanings behind your experiences. All you have to do is join us in the Spaced Out Radio chat room. See you there.
Every Saturday and Sunday night, as Dave Scott wanders aimlessly in the wilderness, you can come hang out with me, James Tyson, in Spaced Out Weekend. Starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, I'll take you along as we talk with some of the best experts in their fields. SpacedOutRadio.com is the place to find us. So sit down, relax, put your feet up. Enjoy the topics like the paranormal, supernatural, intuitiveness, and so much more. Hope to see you there.
Hi there, this is your psychic medium Joanna, and I would love it if you would join us every other Sunday on Spaced Out Weekend. With host James Tyson, we'll bring you personal psychic messages on two mediums and a large. Questions about love, life, career changes. We would love it if you would come and join us live. Call in and listen in for the experience. Allow us to open the doors to your other side. Two Mediums and a Large, heard only on Spaced Out Weekend at spacedoutradio.com.
Would you like to become one of our space travelers? All you have to do is click on the Space Travelers icon at spacedoutradio.com. For only $5 a month, you can get access to some great prizes, as well as private monthly shows, newsletters, and a members-only section on our website. Become a space traveler today.
Do you have a topic or a guest that you'd like to hear on Spaced Out Radio? Let us know at spacedoutradio.com, where you can sign up to become a Space Traveler member today. Or you can find us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on our Facebook page, Spaced Out Radio Show. Welcome back to Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Good to have you with us. Tomorrow night on the show, we are having our monthly SOR Roundtable. We do it the final Friday of every month. It's going to be a good one before we turn things over in the cabin to Elizabeth and James for Spaced Out Weekend, Saturday and Sunday night. Tomorrow we are also giving away our first SOR Space Travelers prize. So if you're a member like Joe, like Eric, like Gloria, and a few others, you're going to want to get in, so that way you can possibly win some prizes. Because we're giving away prizes every single month to the SOR Space Travelers. If you want to follow us on Twitter, you can do so at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, I can be followed at Dave Scott, SOR. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show, and our website is spacedoutradio.com. You can join the SOR Space Travelers Club. Check out the SOR Space Wire by news director Eric Markham. Great stories there. You can read my blog on the paranormal this week, as well as some other pieces of writing from some very talented people. You can also check out who we are affiliated with and who we associate with on our affiliates tab, and so much more. Everything at spacedoutradio.com. Tonight we are talking with author S.J. Wells. She's a fictional and non-fictional writer of the paranormal. Her nonfiction is called Haunted, A True Story, and she also leads a team with her husband Russ, Fog Paranormal, out of Bellingham, Washington. Welcome back, S.J.
Thank you.
I want to read something here that Eric Markham from the Spaced Out Radio SOR Space Wire. Okay, he has his degree in science, and I want to read this because we've been going pretty heavy on this. Yes. The scientific method is a way to ask and answer scientific questions by making observations and doing experiments. The steps of the scientific method are to A, ask a question, do a background research, construct a hypothesis, construct a hypothesis, test your hypothesis by doing an experiment, analyze your data, and draw a conclusion. Communicate your results. It is important for your experiment to be a fair test. A fair test occurs when you change the only one factor variable and keep all the other conditions the same. While scientists study how nature works, engineers create new things such as products, websites, environments, and experiences. If your project involves creating or inventing something new, your project might be better fit the steps of the engineering design process. It is somewhat difficult to apply these steps to metaphysical phenomena. I have had to really evolve my thinking over the last few months since I have been a part of this show. So right there we have someone with a scientific background saying it's impossible to play scientist in the field of ghost hunting or paranormal research.
Right.
So how do we combat that? As someone who's been doing this forever, how do we combat that?
Well, there are certain things that we do try to do, like where we will stick a certain object, say for instance, in a room, seal that room off, and hopefully get some kind of, you're going to set up a video camera, so from each angle or whatever, to make sure that you're going to capture each angle of, say for instance, a big ball in the middle of the table, and you're trying to get the ghost to move it. if you get some kind of movement, then you have to go back and try and figure out if it was any kind of natural environmental cause or whatever. I mean, we do kind of try and do certain steps to capture evidence, but you still can't, oh God, what's the word? You cannot be specific on certain things because there's so much that can cause that ball to move, or, you know, like a truck going by, the vibration itself, you know, and the table's moving, and, you know, somebody bumps the table, or when they walk back in the room and it's dark, you know, I mean, there's just so many variables in scientific approach that I don't think it's possible. I mean, like, you know, like Eric said, I don't think it's possible. But what we can do is gather as much solid evidence, analyze that evidence. Now, this is what Russ and I do, and it's kind of, I'm hoping that people will hear this one, because a lot of people don't do this. They analyze everything themselves, which is okay if you do it properly. But the problem is that to get a specific, you know, I'm telling you, I'm so tired tonight, I can't even get my words out. But what we do is, say like we get a photo, and it's so obvious that we captured an apparition in that photo to us. What we do is we take it to somebody who could put it in, I don't know, analyze it on a computer with some kind of software or something to see if, you know, to prove that we did not mess with that picture, you know, we didn't try, like, you know, those cell phone apps that you can put a ghost in a picture?
Yes.
I want people to know that we're not doing that. And the only way to do it is get a professional photographer or somebody that can analyze that photo and let us know that, yes, there's something in that photo that's different that shouldn't be there, you know. And we've done that several times. We've got several apparition photos that we have taken them to professional photographers. We've taken them, we've had video that was really weird. We couldn't explain. We thought, okay, well, you know, if we just say it's paranormal, then we're not very good investigators. So we took it to a video production company along with our equipment, the footage, our camera that captured the event, and had them go through it and make sure that there was no malfunction in the equipment or the camera. And what they saw on the video was not something that we placed there, or that they actually saw it, and they couldn't explain it. You know, that it wasn't, you know, like I said, it caused from changes in environment or whatever. And they wouldn't tell us, now this video, because of the reputation, they would not tell us that it was a ghost or that it was connected with paranormal activity. What they said was, and this is kind of off the record, yes, we believe what you captured was some kind of phenomenon that we've never seen before. Your equipment is good, your camera's good, there's nothing wrong with either. Yeah, so that's the kind of stuff that all investigators need to be doing, because you cannot, just because you say it's paranormal, doesn't mean it's paranormal. You have to have proof that it's paranormal to get anybody to believe you. So that's my thought on it.
Eric has a question for you in the Spaced Out Radio chat room on Spreaker. He is asking, SJ, have you ever had a ghost that would cooperate with you or interact as requested?
Yes. I can honestly say that. Yes, I have. But it's because I have certain abilities that they understand, that I understand what they're trying to, communicate to me. But as far as being a paranormal investigator, not so often. No. Yeah.
Take us through an experience that you had where you had a ghost pretty much do what you wanted it to do.
Well, that's rough. Let's see. Let me think. After you do about, thousands of investigations over the years, it's hard to pick one. Oh, God. Let's see. Well, let's see. Okay, for instance, we were talking about the little girl in the farmhouse that, I had communicated with when we moved in there. I guess the best way would be to help her move on because she died of a very violent death. And so that, to me, that's cooperation. I mean, I don't know what you guys are, thinking is cooperation, but yeah, if you can get them to move into the light, that's a good cooperation. If you tell them to, speak into the microphone or whatever, and they do that, that's cooperation. And we've had that several times. I don't know. I can't really think of anything specific that would give them that, give you guys the answer you want, but yeah, that's cooperation to me. If you get any kind of ghost or the ghost that will do that, and it's very difficult sometimes.
Have you ever had a situation?
Sorry, I'm just really tired today.
That's okay. Have you ever had a situation where you've said to a ghost, where can you pull out that chair or move that cup, and all of a sudden, right in front of you, it happens?
Yes, actually, once. Just once, believe it or not. We had a situation where we were at a lighthouse, locally, actually. And we were upstairs, and, the place was open. There was tourists in there and stuff. We were upstairs, though. And we had been told through the grapevine that the place was haunted, and that the people that used to work there had a lot of different experiences. Well, Russ and I actually just went to visit there, and we do this every time. It's kind of off-the-cuff investigation. And walked upstairs, and Russ said something like, people have been telling us that, that you're here. Why don't you show us that you're here? Give us some kind of indication that, we know that you're here. And so all of a sudden the lamp, it was like one of those old-fashioned, it looked like it was old-fashioned lantern kind of light above us, but it wasn't. It was like something that was replicated, and just put in. Because the other ones obviously didn't work with regular electricity. It's kind of like a candle one. And all of a sudden it just started swinging back and forth. First it started kind of slow, and then it actually started kind of going in circles a little bit. And we asked him, okay, well, now that you've done that for us, can you just kind of make it slow down and stop? And they did. And it was pretty cool. It's actually the first time we had ever gotten a ghost to actually do something like that, which is pretty cool.
Eric Cooper, who you know very well from Forest Moon Paranormal, wants you to explain the story about the EVP at Northern State.
Which, okay. Is he talking about the picnic? I think that's what he's talking about. Russ and I did a kind of a fundraiser for a couple, actually, 2 or 3 weeks ago. And it was a paranormal picnic, and we had a bunch of people there, and it was a great time. We had a really good time, and we were in this one building. It's at the very back of the property of the old dairy farm, and we were inside there, and we actually had my daughter's German Shepherd puppy with us, and she was about 3 months old, and she started barking like crazy and looking straight into the corner, and then so we pulled her away, and Eric and I started an EVP session, and Russ came in, and he had a video camera, and he was videotaping us, and Eric asked, did you work here? And we got a woman's voice, very clear, and I actually heard it with my ears, because I asked Eric you can see it on the videotape. I'll probably post it on our Area 51 Cafe page or something, but you hear Eric ask the question, and then I hear this woman say yes. And it was very clear, and I asked Eric, did you hear that? And then I actually captured it on audio, the audio recorder too, which is very cool. Because sometimes you'll hear it with your ears, but you won't hear it on the video. Or not on the video, but on the audio recorder. And sometimes it's the opposite. You won't hear it, and you'll get it on the audio recorder. So, yeah, that was pretty cool. That was kind of really off the cuff. And it was during the day, people, just to let you know. A lot of people seem to think that it's okay, that you have to investigate at night. You don't. You can go anywhere, because ghosts are everywhere. So if you want to go to a cemetery, or you want to walk down the street and talk to a ghost, I mean, I almost guarantee you'll probably get some kind of answer. Yeah, at some point, yeah.
Stone would like to know, in the Spaced Out Radio chat room on Spreaker, do you think, SJ, orbs are spirits or something different?
Okay, here we go. I knew this question would come up because orbs always do. Which, you know what? What was his name? The guy that asked the question?
Her name is Stone.
Oh, Stone. Okay, Stone. This is my theory on orbs, okay? First of all, orbs are something, the word orbs is irritating for me. Because, you know, orbs are something that, a word that was created to describe something that's perfectly round, okay, to me. Do I think it's a spirit? Not so much an orb, but I do believe that an anomaly is kind of a better way to put it. But yes, I do, in some cases, I do believe that they are spirits. In most cases, you can tell the difference between an orb event, because, you know, a lot of people know this. If you walk across carpet, you're going to kick up dust. And that dust is going to go, according to the wind direction, a certain direction. It won't stop. It just keeps going, and you can tell. But in an anomaly event, it is something that goes against the grain. Like, for instance, we were doing an investigation at a old saloon, and we had the video camera set up at the end of the hallway so that it would capture any paranormal activity that was going on that floor. All of a sudden, on the video, when we're watching it, we see an anomaly come up the stairs from the first floor, take a right-hand turn, stop in midair in front of a door, and then go through the door. That's an anomaly. An orb, to me, is just about a dust or a bug or whatever. Yeah. There's a big difference, I think. And Russ and I have captured several on video or on our static cameras that are so unusual that you cannot explain it. Another for instance, is we were doing an investigation at the Georgetown Castle in Seattle, and the same kind of situation is we had the camera set up, and this anomaly came up the stairs. You can see it coming towards the camera, and it goes zooming past the camera. Well, this was for the DVR system, the camera was, and so Russ slowed down this anomaly, and you could see, when you slowed it down, you could see the bridge of the nose and an eye. So basically, we were getting part of a spirit, part of a manifestation there. And a lot of people would think, oh, it's just dust or whatever, but it looked like a little tornado when it was going zooming by the camera, but when you slowed it down, you could see the bridge of a nose and an eye. So, yeah, I believe in them. Yeah, I believe there's spirits, a lot of them.
I didn't really believe in the orb thing until one day I took a picture, and I had my camera on, and one day, for some reason, my thumb just slipped over my camera. I was sitting on my chair, and I took a picture, and there was like 6 orbs in the picture. And one of them had this Janis Joplin type face, but with glasses on. It tripped me right out when I saw that.
I love that.
You know, because I do recall, hearing, if you get a big enough orb, zoom in on it and see what kind of faces you can see.
Right.
And so that's what I did.
That's
and
cool.
it was weird to see that there was actually something looking back at me.
Mm-hmm.
It was very, very intriguing. But, I mean, a lot of people write that off to bugs, dust, whatever other type of anomalous being that it could be, rather than spiritual. And do you believe they have a good argument on that?
In some cases, yeah. It just depends. It's easier to with the ones that you capture in photos are a little easier to kind of put to the side, or debunk. I hate that word, so I
Me
don't
too.
use it.
That ranks
Yeah.
up there with squatch for me.
Exactly. But I think you can kind of dismiss it a little bit, the ones in photos, because of the dust situation. I don't care how clean your house is, you're going to get dust, okay? Especially if you got cats or dogs or whatever. And bugs, I'm not a real big believer in that part of it, because unless you, I don't know. I'm not a real big believer in the whole dust thing, because I am very spiritual, and I do, I believe in things without evidence, and that's where me and Russ get in our arguments a lot of times, because I'm a big believer in evidence, and I love evidence because it makes me feel good when something gets, when I'm right and he's wrong. We've been together a long time, so we get these little arguments, but it's okay, because it's okay to believe without evidence, but it's always good to get it proven too. I kind of walk the fence.
What is your opinion, SJ, of all this technology that's coming out? Is it good or bad for the field?
Well, honestly, I just think it's okay. Some of it's okay. If somebody wants to use it, that's totally up to them. But honestly, as expensive as paranormal investigating is, I think you're just wasting your money. I don't really think you need it. Because really, basically, all you're doing is just hyping up what we're already doing. I would like to see people spend their money on other things, like their family and their kids, and their dog, whatever. Yeah.
Okay, but a lot of people think that they have to have the biggest and brightest equipment out there right now.
And that's the ego. There comes the ego again. And Russ and I actually got offered a chance to have our own TV show. And this was back in 2006, I believe it was. And you know why we didn't get it? You're going to laugh at this one. We didn't have any drama on our team, because we were all friends. And we didn't hype up the evidence, and we didn't do this. They said we were boring. So
that's nice of them to say.
Yeah, that's okay. We didn't want it anyway. It was a bad case, We kept trying to tell them, okay, if you want paranormal activity on this production, because they followed us around one night, and we were at this residence, and it was a very sad situation. The girl was a young teenager. She was psychic, and she was going through some really difficult times with these spirits that were in contact with her. And matter of fact, a few years later, she passed away from it. So I don't like all this drama that's going on right now. And you know what? I totally just spaced out what you asked me. I'm sorry. What did you ask me?
What I had asked is, what do these new groups need if you're not a fan of all this technology?
They need a lot of faith and a lot of belief that what they're going out there to investigate is just as important as, like I said earlier, it's a job. It's not just an adventure, It's something that you have to be full-heartedly into it, You have to be willing to think outside the box and try and solve all the information, like the history, see, I went blank. The history and the evidence and what people are telling you, and all that has to come together into one situation or one report so that you can have a full picture. I mean, it's kind of like being, this is the best way to describe it. When you're a medium and you get images or you get communication, certain words or whatever, you have to bring all those pieces together to make them a whole so that you can communicate those messages to, say, a loved one or whatever, so that they understand that you're actually talking to someone who had passed away that was their, like their father or their mother or their grandmother. And that's kind of what it's like to be an investigator, is you got to get all those pieces and put them together. And as far as the technology goes, I don't think you need it. I just don't.
And on that note, we're going to hop out for a break here at the top of the hour. S.J. Wells, author, paranormal investigator, is with us tonight. We have one more hour with her as we're going to stick in the paranormal field for tonight. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott. We'll be right back.
Patrolling the Pacific Northwest, we are always on the lookout for the strange and unassuming stories that real people are experiencing. Hi, I'm Vincent Zunza from Pacific North Weird. Me and Alexandra Sullivan have teamed to bring to you those odd stories that never seem to make it into the mainstream. Stories so weird that will leave you scratching your head wondering, is this real? It's as real as it gets with Pacific North Weird. You can watch our videos right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Become more intimate and interactive with Spaced Out Radio. Join our Space Travelers Club with your new membership. For $5 a month, we'll provide you with special access to the website, monthly prize draws from books to psychic readings, along with monthly newsletter, private interviews, and more. Sign up today to be part of Spaced Out Radio's experience.
Every month on Spaced Out Radio, we look into the deep and dark reports of cryptids roaming around the world with me, Rob Morphy, from Cryptopia.us. I would love it if you would join me and host Dave Scott as we delve into the most arcane stories and reports regarding creatures of the unknown. My job is to hunt down the details and bring the evidence forward to you. These aren't your regular Bigfoot stories I'm talking about either. You can find out more about crypto history at spacedoutradio.com.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Strange creatures lurking in the night, the sounds of wood knocking in the forest, odd happenings right out of a fictional world. These are the reports I love. Hi there, this is author Ronald Murphy, and I would love it if you join me and Spaced Out Radio host Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month on our journey into the unknown land of cryptozoology at spacedoutradio.com. From Mothman to Frogman and everything in between. Hey, they don't call me the crypto guru for nothing.
Oh, there's only one way to rock. Loud and proud. In high definition. Radio 702 rocks. Las Vegas.
Find yourself constantly looking up in the sky, looking for answers? Have you had extraterrestrial contact? Are you an abductee? Looking for answers to your experiences? Hi there, I'm R. Keith Andrews, Spaced Out Radio's resident ET expert. Join me live the first Friday of every month where I take questions from the Spaced Out Radio chat room and help you understand those from the far-off world. It's 2 hours of knowledge every experiencer should listen to. Hope to see you there.
Did you know that Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi, it's James Tyson from Spaced Out Weekend. Every Saturday and Sunday night, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, you can join me and my guests for some great chatter about what's going on out in the universe, or even in that dark part of the basement you really don't want to go back into. Well, let's find the answers to your experiences together. So come on up to Uncle Jimbo's cabin on the weekend. For more information, look us up at spacedoutradio.com.
Would you like to connect with us on Spaced Out Radio? Head to spacedoutradio.com to check out the latest shows, guests, and sponsors. And don't forget to sign up for the Space Travelers Club. You'll find all you need at spacedoutradio.com. Welcome back to Spaced Out Radio tonight, final hour as we kick things off. Tomorrow night on the show, 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern time, we will be bringing you the SOR Paranormal Roundtable. We got the panel set, and we are good to go, as we will ask a bunch of really cool questions tomorrow night. It's one of our highest ranking shows that we do every month. And if you're an SOR space traveler, get ready, because we are going to make our monthly prize draw for you. If you want to be a part of that, all you have to do is sign up for the SOR Space Travelers Club, and that is at spacedoutradio.com. It only costs $5 a month. The other guys, they'll give you access to their archives for your money, not us. We give you private section for posting on the website. We give you access to monthly prize draws and so much more. So I think our value is a little bit better than what the other dudes are doing. If you want to follow us on Twitter, you can do so at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, I can be followed at Dave Scott SOR. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. And our website, once again, is spacedoutradio.com. You could join the Space Travelers, read up on the SOR Space Wire from news director Eric Markham. Check out my blog. It's on the Paranormal this week. We switch them up every Sunday. We have some very talented writers there as well, so check theirs out. And you can also check out who we associate with and who we endorse as paranormal groups and other radio shows. Everything at spacedoutradio.com. Tonight we are talking with author S.J. Wells. Haunted, A True Story is her book. She also writes nonfiction. Everything can be found at Amazon.com by typing in S.J. Wells. Fog Paranormal, her and her husband Russ run up in Bellingham, Washington. S.J., welcome back.
Thank you.
You look at the word paranormal as a blanket word.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's important to discuss here, because after 37 years of investigation, a lifelong of psychic ability, define to me what you mean by the word paranormal.
Anything that is outside of what society looks at as normal. Everyday things. Everything above that. Anything that's different. That's pretty much how I describe it anyway.
Okay, well, let's get into detail about that, because I think it's something that needs to be discussed. A lot of people, when they say paranormal, and I'm guilty of it, I think someone's talking about ghosts and spirits and possibly demons and shadow people. I don't really consider cryptids a part of that. Or it's not that I don't consider it, it's that I never thinking of cryptids as a part of that, or extraterrestrials or UFO contact.
Right. A lot of people don't. And actually they would be wrong, because it fits within that definition of anything above normal, anything outside society's belief that is normal. It's not unknown, it's not a mystery, it's not, all those things. So yeah, I think the paranormal is a big umbrella, and a lot of little things fit underneath it. Like, Eric, my friend Eric Cooper, he'll say fairies fit underneath that, and ghosts and UFO and aliens and cryptids and I don't know, you name it, werewolves, even vampires. They all fit underneath that umbrella.
So up in the Pacific Northwest where you are, What are you investigating besides ghosts?
Well, Russ and I actually have just started getting into, learning some things about UFOs, probably because we've had our own experiences with it, and there's almost times that I believe that I've been abducted, and Russ along with me.
Well, me being an alien guy, you got to get into that with me because...
Well, I can tell you a little story. Russ and I were coming back from Oregon probably about 3 years ago, I guess. And we were driving across, if anybody knows about Oregon, Astoria sits right on the kind of the coast. And the only thing that separates Washington and Oregon is a bridge. And in between is the Columbia River. Well, we have been that way 100 times on Highway 101. And we were coming across the bridge, and we went the normal way we normally go. That will take us into Olympia, and then, I-5 north. And we get on this one road, and the normal road that we turn on, I can't think of what it is right off the top of my head, but it's some kind of highway. It's a highway. And we turn on that road just like we normally do, and then all of a sudden, we're someplace we weren't. And it seemed like we lost some time there, like about a half an hour or so. We ended up on this other road, going the opposite direction, with a black, kind of like an SUV that like we own right now, with tinted out windows, and then it passed us after we noticed it. We at that time we were driving a gold-colored Jeep, and we ended up by this lake I'd never seen in my entire life, and I've lived in Washington all my life, or most of it anyway. Yeah, kind of, off and on anyway. And we don't know how we got there. We have no idea. But for some reason, we ended up on this road that we have no idea, by a lake. We have no idea where it is or what it is, and a black SUV following us and then passing us and taking off.
Have you ever had experiences with the black helicopters or the black SUVs before that?
Well, when we lived in Burlington, Russ had been out. He was outside, and he was doing some lawn work, and he looked up in the sky because he heard jets flying over the house, kind of way up there in the sky. So he looks up, and he sees this silver-looking sphere. And these jets from Whidbey Island are flying in circles around this thing. It's like three of them, and they were flying around in circles. So he calls me, and he looks up, hands me his binoculars, and I look up, and I'm looking at this thing, and it's silver. And then all of a sudden, it was gone. Like the snap of the fingers, it was just gone. But it was right over our house, like it was watching us. That's what it felt like. And then when this thing took off, the jets took off and went back to Whidbey Island. Just weird little things like that have happened to us over the years that we can't explain.
Well, Washington State is very well known for its ufology. I mean, It's something to do, I'm convinced, with the volcanoes. And I recently learned, just last week, that the little minion town that I live in is actually built on a volcano that is probably 1,000,000+ years dormant. It's considered dead. Okay? And because I was asking a friend of mine who's lived here forever why there was lava rocks all around. Who brought in all the lava rocks? It didn't even occur to me that we're on Volcano Alley here. I mean,
Right.
and it starts way up in Alaska, makes its way down British Columbia through Washington State. Then you get, the five sisters starting with Mount Baker, or the five brothers, whatever you want to call them, starting with Mount Baker and ending with Mount Shasta. So I think there's something to do with all the UFO activity and the volcanoes around. Have you ever thought of that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Especially recently. And, I was talking earlier about my death experience, which I almost wonder about that because of the whole Watcher thing, because there is supposed to be a species of aliens that you know, call themselves the Watchers, and I can't think of the name right now because I'm not really real good with UFO stuff yet, but or species, alien species, but yeah, I mean, I wonder how many times that I've actually thought about that. I've actually thought about it several times over the years as I was growing up, about volcanoes and why the UFOs seem to be around them when people see them. Very interesting to me.
Have you ever investigated anything to do with cryptids like Bigfoot? Our area is filled with Bigfoot, and there's also legends of little people.
I definitely have a story for you. I don't know if it was a Bigfoot. I have no idea, but I can tell you that Russ and I and some friends of ours encountered. There's a place up above concrete called Devil's Tower. And the reason they call it Devil's Tower is because there's been a lot of people going up there doing different kinds of rituals, and the story. I mean, it's just, a lot of kids and things like that. Well, one night we were up there. It was about midnight or so, and we started taking photos and things like that. It was us and our team and some friends, and all of a sudden, I got this overwhelming feeling that we needed to leave right then. And I can't explain it better than that, other than I felt so creeped out. And I never get that feeling, hardly ever. And so I said, we got to go now. I'm not kidding. We have to leave now. And everybody's looking at me like, what? I said, guys, I'm telling you, we need to leave now. And they said, okay, we're going. So we all left the building. And we started walking back towards the cars, which was about, I don't know, maybe a little less than a quarter of a mile. And we're walking along, and we could hear something in the woods trailing us. And the closer we got to our cars, the closer it got to us along the wood line, or the bay, like there's a line of trees. And it got close to us, and Russ kept flashing this bright light into the woods, a flashlight, and at one point, he saw what looked to him like a 7 to 8 foot tall creature with red eyes, and it had a very heavy footstep. Now, what in my with my abilities, I'm seeing images of this thing. It's a tall, gangly-looking creature with a big head, long arms, long legs, and skinny as, I can't even tell you how skinny. Kind of like it looked like a tree almost, but the head was round, I would say like an alien. So we left, and we took the cars and drove back down into concrete. We get across the bridge. There's one little bridge in the concrete bridge in the town of Concrete. And we come around the corner. It's like almost like a dead end. You get across the bridge, and it's dead, and you have to take a left. And you go into the main street of town. There was this black, huge monster. I'm not kidding. This thing was enormous. I've never seen a dog this big before. And we don't think it was a dog. We think whatever this was a shapeshifter or a Bigfoot. We don't know which. It could have even been a werewolf, for all I know. But I'm telling you, this thing watched us, and when we parked the cars and got out and was watching it just slowly got up. It was sitting on its haunches, slowly got up, was at the end of the street, and walked back direction it had come from. And I asked many people about this story if they had ever seen this thing before. And there's a friend of mine, his name is Jim, and he told me about this huge black dog that he saw in town. And so we talked about it, and he said exactly what it looked like. It had kind of like a hump on its back with long hair and a kind of a long snout. But it was, I don't know, it wasn't shaped like a dog, but more like something different. I don't know. I can't describe it better than that, but we said it looked like a dog, but the shape was different than a dog, if that makes any sense.
That's something to definitely tell Butch Witkowski next time he is on the air.
Yeah, and it only happened to us once, and I actually took Eric and his wife, me and Russ did, up to Devil's Tower, I don't know, probably a month and a half ago or so, and the gate was open, so we were able to go in, and we were taking photos and stuff, and I was showing him, where we had, encountered this thing, and, he thought, well, maybe it was a Bigfoot, and I don't doubt it because there's been a lot of footprints found around that lake up there, around Baker Lake. So, maybe it was a Bigfoot. I don't know, but it was awful strange, this dog that we saw. I can't explain that one. That was creepy. Scary creepy.
It's definitely not out of the realm of possibility, especially with the First Nations up here in the Pacific Coast and the Pacific Northwest here, where they are very strongly adamant that there is shape-shifting going on in the forest with some of these creatures. Have you ever talked to any First Nations people about that?
I haven't, but Russ is Cherokee, and so he's a big believer in that, the shamans will place protection animals or protection creatures on their land so that people won't come on their land, on their holy ground. And so, I have a feeling it has something to do with that. I really do. And it would not surprise me if they told me that there were shapeshifters up there at all.
It is a little crazy.
It is, and it's creepy too.
I have a question from Michael in the SOR Space Travelers Club for you.
Mm-hmm.
He is asking, SJ, what is your scariest ghostly encounter?
Oh, okay. Well, I have a few, but my scariest one, this is the thing. I don't get creeped out much by it because it's what I do, but my scariest one was when we were doing the same saloon that I was telling you guys about earlier. It's called the Oxford Saloon, and it's in Snohomish. And we documented actually 7 ghosts in that building, and it's very old. I think it was built like in 1898 or something like that, and it's still standing, believe it or not, in really good condition. And Russ and I were the first investigators at that night to go upstairs to where the old brothel was. And we were walking around up there for, according to our recorder, once I had turned it on, we were upstairs for 24 minutes and 29 seconds. And the place felt so heavy. It would feel like you were being pushed down on. It was so heavy. And we got this one particular ghost that got very interested in what we were doing. And we got this recording. The first recording was that we were in this room, it was room number 3, I think, and all of a sudden, when I was listening back to the recording, I said, well, first, you hear this woman's voice. She says, somebody is watching, but she says the name, but I never can catch the name. Somebody is watching you. And then I ask this question, are you curious why we're here, and are you watching us? Which is another story about them putting thoughts in your mind. And then you hear like a gunshot, and you hear a woman screaming, and this man spirit, which I think this part is residual, him saying, calling her a bee, I really don't like cuss, but a bitch, in no uncertain terms, and, you could hear first you're getting thrown around and all kinds of stuff. It's really bad. And then we went on, a few minutes later, entered the next room, and I'm standing there, and I'm holding the recorder in my hand, and all of a sudden, I get this really creeped out feeling. It's kind of like, when I feel it, it's either, depending on where the spirit is standing in approximate way of me, whether it's the front or the back or either side of me, I got this feeling in front of me like somebody was watching me really strong. And when I listen back to the recorder, and it's very clear, like I'm talking to you guys right now, I am the one. And because he had knocked keys out of her hands and all kinds of stuff. That was probably my creepiest one. But But Russ had one where he was thrown against the wall. Lifted up and thrown against the wall about 3 feet back in a cell block. Yeah, so had a couple interesting ones. We get walked through quite often. That's pretty creepy because you get this cold thing in your stomach, like an ice cube, almost like a huge block of ice, and it spreads through your body. And if the only way to really get rid of it is to walk out of the area and then just kind of let yourself regroup and then walk back in. But that's pretty creepy. I mean, you think if somebody's walking through you, it's pretty scary sometimes.
Do you get scared anymore? Is there anything that it doesn't matter what field of the paranormal it is? Is there anything that just absolutely trips you out?
I don't know if it's so much being scared as it's kind of like when something happens, like you see an apparition manifest in front of you, and you're looking at them, and all of a sudden they're not there anymore. That's pretty creepy. I mean, we did the Northern State Mental Hospital in 2008, I believe, and that's here in Cedar Woolley, Washington, and we were we did it before the Ghost Hunters TV show, and I'm standing down at the end of this one hallway, and all of a sudden I see this man who looks like a doctor because he's got this like white coat on, and standing there with his arms crossed, looking at me. And I said, at first I thought, because it was dark in there, at first I thought it was one of the other investigators, because we had like 25 people in that building on different floors and different wings and stuff of the building. And all of a sudden I see this guy, and so I start walking towards him, and then I realized, okay, because I called out and he didn't answer me. And our investigators, they know, okay, you need to answer, like if somebody's asking you if that's you or whatever. And then I get about halfway down the hallway, and I'm raising my camera up, to get that photo, get that really golden goose kind of photo. And he dissipated right in front of me, and that was pretty damn creepy. Pretty damn creepy.
I don't get scared or freaked out anymore.
No.
I do get startled though. You know, and when I get startled, I jump back and I usually start cursing or swearing. You know,
that happens a lot.
I mean, I very rarely have I been scared. When paranormal wise, I haven't been freaked out. It's weird. I've never been touched. I've never seen chairs move across a floor or a glass get thrown or any type of, whether it's sinister or benevolent paranormal activity happen. I've never had that happen. I have had the experiences with extraterrestrials. The first ET I saw, it was freaky. But it wasn't scary as in, oh my God, I'm going to die. I better, go all out America and get my guns. It wasn't like that. Mm-hmm. It was very, it was jarring inside my system because I didn't know what I was looking at. When I had the ET at the window last year while broadcasting the show, that startled me.
I'm sure.
When I had the shadow figure standing right beside me, that startled me. Sure. So there's a big difference between getting scared and being startled. And that's why I asked that question, like, and this may be hypothetical here, SJ, but what would be the situation that startles you?
You want me to be really honest? What scares me the most? What scares me the most is when my husband disappears in the dark and I can't find him, and then I walk down a set of stairs or something, and he's right there in the dark and scares the crap out of me. That scares me worse than any ghost I've ever encountered. And he's a trickster that way, and he knows I hate it.
Oh, I know the feeling. One day, my booking coordinator Corey was over, and she during the break says I got to leave, and so she goes to leave, and I we're on a break here, so I figure I walk her to the door, and I walk back into the studio. Well, my son has this inflatable ball that has a big happy face on it. So what does she do? I have a wood pile underneath my window. She stands it up on the wood pile so this damn face is staring at me out the window. And she did that on my birthday night.
Oh, lovely.
So during my birthday broadcast, not only did she get me intoxicated on the air, which, kind of offended me, because the professional in me wouldn't allow that to happen, but it was my birthday, and I decided to let go and let loose a little bit.
Sure, what the heck?
But then she tries to scare the daylights out of me.
Yeah.
It was just so mean. So mean.
Yeah.
I mean, watch her.
Let me tell you this. I got to tell you this. We were doing an investigation. I'll do this really quick. In Spokane, Washington, at a theater, old theater, Bing Crosby Theater. So I tell Russ, okay, I want to go with you guys downstairs because I want you to check out this area in the furnace room. And so he says, okay, well, we'll wait. And all of a sudden they disappear, him and his cohort. I'm telling you, these guys are bad. And so I go down the stairs, and all of a sudden, I didn't know there was a closet at the bottom of the stairs. And all of a sudden, he reaches out. Russ is in the closet. He reaches out and grabs my arm. I didn't scream. I punched him because he scared me so bad. But normally, under normal circumstances, normal investigations, I don't get scared, but I do get surprised a lot. Yeah.
And it sucks when that happens. I will say
It
this.
does.
Exactly. You know what? We're going to hop out for our final break of the night here, SJ, so you hold on. S.J. Wells, author and paranormal investigator out of Bellingham, Washington, is joining us tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We have one final break here. When we come back, we're going to get more into the paranormal. And that's a pretty big umbrella word when we come back to it. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott. We'll catch you on the other side.
Are you an experiencer? Have you had run-ins with strange creatures you can't explain? ETs, Dogman, Bigfoot, werewolves? They're enough to scare the daylights out of anyone. Hi there, I'm Butch Witkowski from your 4-Cop. And on the last Monday of every month, you can listen to me and the host, Dave Scott, talk about the weird and the strange being reported on Spaced Out Radio. I'm going to bring my investigations and sources, you bring your experiences, and we'll figure out the rest together. Strange Days on Spaced Out Radio. Come tune us in at spacedoutradio.com.
Are you interested in advertising on Spaced Out Radio?
Head to our website at spacedoutradio.com and click on our advertising tab. There you will find an assortment of ways you can get your product out there with us.
From the radio, commercials, to banners, to social media.
Have a product you'd like our host to endorse? We can do that too.
Visit spacedoutradio.com for more details.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. With their money-back guarantee and the many benefits, how can you afford not to get one? Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry.
Right here, this is where we divulge the fruit of our research. Here on the Webster Phenomena every Saturday night at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern on Spaced Out Radio.
Attention Spaced Out Radio listeners. For only $5 a month, you can join Spaced Out Radio Space Travelers. Your membership at spacedoutradio.com will give you access to private fan area on the website, get you a monthly newsletter, draws for monthly swag, and a whole lot more. Sign up today to become a part of the Spaced Out Radio experience.
Strange creatures lurking in the night, the sounds of wood knocking in the forest, odd happenings right out of a fictional world. These are the reports I love. Hi there, this is author Ronald Murphy, and I would love it if you join me and Spaced Out Radio host Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month on our journey into the unknown land of cryptozoology at spacedoutradio.com. From Mothman to Frogman and everything in between. Hey, they don't call me the crypto guru for nothing.
Greetings and salutations, space travelers, from the Chronicles of the Unknown team.
What is Chronicles of the Unknown? I keep hearing about this thing.
It's a new paranormal reality TV show based right here in beautiful British Columbia, Canada. Follow our team as we uncover claims of activity on the Caribou Gold Rush Trail. You can also follow us here every third Monday, where 2 members of our team will be available to answer your questions. We'll give you some equipment updates and some of our experiences on the road, right here on Spaced Out Radio.
Did you know that Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi, it's James Tyson from Spaced Out Weekend. Every Saturday and Sunday night, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, you can join me and my guests for some great chatter about what's going on out in the universe, or even in that dark part of the basement you really don't want to go back into. Well, let's find the answers to your experiences together. So come on up to Uncle Jimbo's cabin on the weekend. For more information, look us up at spacedoutradio.com.
Missed most of tonight's show? Don't worry, you didn't miss a thing. You can head to our website, spacedoutradio.com, and download our archives for free. And don't forget to get your Space Travelers membership today. Now, back to tonight's show. We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Thank you so much to all of you for joining in tonight. If you're in the Space Out Radio chat room on Spreaker, on the SOR Space Travelers page on Facebook, good to have you with us. Tomorrow night on the show, the SOR Roundtable. We do it the final Friday of every month. It's one of our highest rated shows. I bring in a panel. They don't know the questions, and we fire at them. Very, very cold to see what they're going to come up with. We have a good laugh, we have a few head scratchers, but tune on in. And if you're a member of the SOR Space Travelers Club, we're going to make our first prize draw tomorrow night for you. We're going to do it at the last Friday of every month during the SOR Paranormal Roundtable. And if you're not a member of the Space Travelers, it's easy to sign up. You go to spacedoutradio.com, you click on the SOR Space Travelers Club, and you follow the steps. Step 1, you provide the information. It's only $5 a month. Step 2, you log into the private section for you and the rest of the travelers on the website. You get your name automatically put in for draws, and you get a heck of a lot more. The other guys, they just give you access to their archives, not us. You're a little bit more important to us. That's why we want you to join, so we can give you some prizes and give you some real good stuff. Didn't really want to say stuff there, but I just did. It's late. What can I say? Remember, you can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, I can be followed at Dave Scott, SOR. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. And our website, once again, is spacedoutradio.com. For the final time tonight, we introduce author S.J. Wells. She's out of Bellingham, Washington, which is just a hop, skip, and a jump from where I am, and a mountain pass. Definitely the mountain pass is the hard one.
Yeah.
Fog Paranormal is her group, with her and her husband, Russ. Welcome back, S.J.
Hi. Hello.
Have you had fun tonight?
I have. You're a great interviewer. I love it.
Well, you know what? We get a little bit of help from our audience every now and again, and we try and push it on through, and that's what we're doing. Yeah. You mentioned that you're just starting to learn about the extraterrestrial stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to get into that with you here momentarily, but Chris has a question in the Spaced Out Radio chat room on Spreaker first.
Okay. All right.
He's asking, SJ, have the spirits you interacted with ever given you visions and information in dreams?
Actually, yes. A couple times, but mostly my interaction with them comes from just kind of a visual, almost like playing a movie in your head, but in little tiny bits and pieces. They never give you much. It's almost like they want you to be the detective and solve whatever they're trying to tell you. Right now, I'm working with Eric for a new division on his paranormal group, where we're trying to find missing people. And I've come close on one that we're working on right now, and I'm hoping that I can help them find this woman that her family's still looking for her. So.
Do you think a lot of these missing people go missing on purpose? I'm not saying human involvement, but do you think there is supernatural abilities to why a lot of these people go missing?
You know, I don't know. In this woman's case, she was murdered, so I can't say that has anything to do with supernatural. I don't know. I think a lot of it has health reasons or human interaction or some kind of trauma. Yeah, I don't think it has anything. As far as people go, I don't think that has anything to do with supernatural. No.
So let's talk about extraterrestrials. What do you think? Benevolent, malevolent, a big combination of both?
I think my opinion about that is that I think they're very real, and I think that at some point Russ and I have encountered some things that we can't explain in that direction. I think that they're evil or malevolent or benevolent or whatever. I think some are, yes, because there's been a lot of really good people taken for whatever reason. Like I said, I don't know much about it yet, but I'm learning. And I think some aren't. I think some are here to watch over us. And I really think that this whole thing about what I saw when I had my death experience, I think that we were seated here. Whether it's godlike or alien-like, I don't know, but that's what as an investigator of any paranormal situation, is that's my job, is to seek out those answers and try to figure them out for myself. And Russ and I have been doing that, and we intend to keep doing it as long as we can. I'll probably be still doing it if I end up in a wheelchair. I don't know. I'm just into it, very into it.
With extraterrestrials, there's a lot of debate whether or not the government knows about them, and there's a lot of debate whether or not disclosure will happen. As you start to get into the field of UFOs and aliens to expand Fog Paranormal into that field, are you a little intimidated or petrified about getting into that, or do you think that that's just a natural next step?
I think that any time that a paranormal investigator can get into different realms of these unknown things that we have no clue about at this time, I think the government is involved. I think that as far as disclosure goes, I think that, honestly, I don't think people are ready for it. Most people are very paranoid, and anything new comes into their life, they freak out. So now, not me myself, I think it's very interesting. It does intimidate me just a little bit as far as the UFO stuff goes, but I'm not. It's not. If somebody brings it up and teaches me what I need to know, then I'll be less intimidated by it. So, yeah. I think it's something new that I'm really into. I really like cryptid stuff. I have a story I'll tell you when I meet you at the Paracon. It's about a big rabbit, and believe me, it's true. So, yeah.
Well, you know what? It's one of those things with the ETs that so many people are having experiences. It still baffles my mind, and maybe it baffles yours as well, that a lot of people in the mainstream, because most of us live in the mainstream, refuse to even believe that these situations are happening. We still think it's happening to the psychotic people, the people with bipolar disorder or some sort of psychiatric problem, and it's not. And yet people in the mainstream refuse to make that transformation in their thought that it's actually going on. What do you say to people when you tell them that you're a paranormal investigator, you're looking into ghosts, cryptids, and UFOs and aliens now?
Well, usually I don't have to say anything. As soon as I tell somebody that I'm a paranormal investigator, they assume it's ghosts automatically. But we tell them, no, yes, we're very much into ghosts, but we also are now learning about these other things. And they say, wow, that's really cool. Can we go on an investigation with you? That's the first thing when they want to do. And we always tell people, yes, we do take people on investigations, but here's the problem. You have to listen to what we say, and if we tell you not to do something, don't do it. Because, Dave, we've been doing this a long time, and I don't give up my ethics for anybody, or my morality or anything else. And as far as when you're an investigator, you have to have a really high level of ethics. And I just don't, I think it's cool that people want to learn about it, but they need to start at the beginning just like we did and work their way up. Kind of like with a job,
And I can understand that people get excited about it because, let's face it, you hang around. I'll tell you a conversation that I had with someone at my daytime job. He made a snide comment about aliens, and I just kind of looked at him like he didn't know that I was into all of this, and I just kind of looked at him and I said, they're real. Yeah. And he kind of cocks his head to the right and he goes, what? I said, they're real. And that opened up the whole door to conversation. Yeah. Because he knew who I was. He knows I'm not a real BSer. And, you get that in that intimate conversation. But if you're around a group of people, do you see the change in the attitude when that subject comes up? Do you hush up or do you get right in there?
You're asking me that? Oh, man, I get right into it. All the time. Russ and I, it don't matter where Russ and I go. It's almost like we have a bullseye on us, or people understand. I don't know, do we look weird? Do we have ghosts coming out of our heads or whatever? Because people always seem to know what we do. And when they do find out that we really do this and how long we've been doing it, they're like, wow, aren't you scared? Aren't you scared or whatever? Yeah, I don't worry about, I think it's kind of cool that people ask, I still will tell them a story, or I'll show them a photo or whatever, and they just think it's the coolest thing since sliced bread. I don't think it's all that great, but, I don't understand people, and I understand why they don't believe in something that there's so many people that are doing it, like investigating it or researching it like aliens, I don't understand why people can't believe that. That's my question to them.
Well, I think it's out of fear. Mm-hmm. I think it's completely out of not knowing what is going on. And I think it's because we need to be able to, justify through our five senses what we are seeing or feeling or something along those lines. Right. And when you don't have that with someone, it gets a little eerie, it gets a little scary, and people get a little bit nervous about the possibility that there's aliens coming down or whatever it could be. Mm-hmm. And
I'm sorry, but
no, please go ahead.
One of the questions that we get asked all the time, and this is when we get emails, and it's usually about somebody emailing us about a haunting in their house or their business or whatever. The first words out of their mouth in that email is always, you're going to think I'm crazy, but.
Yes.
And I write them back, and I'm very sincere and compassionate about their situation and everything, but I always say, because I try to make it a little bit light, because I don't want them being scared. I want them to know that they can trust me and that I can, they can talk to me about any of the situations going on. Is I always tell them, why would I think you're crazy when I go out in the dark with a flashlight, with a camera, with a video camera, and hunt ghosts? or look for ghosts. And so why would I think you're crazy? Because a lot of people would think I'm crazy.
I have found that through my own experiences in talking to people, that the three most powerful words that a person can use in these situations are, I believe you.
Exactly.
It's amazing how powerful those three words can be. And when you see the look on those people's faces, whoever you're talking to, the look of anxiety or the look of stress because they've had an unknown experience, to watch it leave their body and their facial expression changes, and they kind of let out a big sigh of relief that finally I have found someone whom I can talk to about this. It really is an amazing breakthrough, whether you're an investigator, whether you're a host, whether you believe in this stuff and you're just looking for an avenue to communicate with.
Right.
It really is an amazing thing, isn't it, SJ?
Yeah, it is. And, the one thing I always do, and some people, they're uncomfortable at first when I do this, but then you can feel like the relief coming off them. I give them a hug and I say, you know what, I believe you, and you can tell me anything that you've experienced, anything that you want to talk about with this situation and why you're scared. I want to help you not be scared anymore. And I do. I stay with those people after every investigation for at least a couple months until I know for sure that they're comfortable in it. I laugh at them. I'm not at them, but I laugh at the ghosts and I say, look, if you don't want to leave, that's fine, but at least pay these people rent. And I try to make it light because otherwise people stay scared, and there's no reason for that. There's no real reason to be scared. This whole demon craze that's going on right now, that's another subject I'll have to talk to you about too.
Oh, that's just insane right now. The whole demon craze is ridiculous.
It is totally ridiculous. Yeah, totally ridiculous.
How many demons have you ever run into in 37 years of investigating?
Not one. Not one. Dark spirits, yes. Demons, no. See, the whole demon thing is the whole religious aspect of this. And I'm not saying that people should not be religious. Believe me, I'm not. Because whatever makes them feel good and gets them up in the morning, that's okay with me. But as far as I'm concerned, I believe that in the mind, you can alter your state of mind by believing in these things so much that you could actually become possessed because of it. I think you cause your own problems.
So what is your opinion then of people playing with little things like dowsing? Okay, like for instance, I use a pendulum. There's a lot of people out there who use a spirit board or a Ouija board. There's other people who are psychically gifted, like you are.
Right.
Do you condone people using ways to communicate?
Sure. I think if you believe in it enough, it will work for you. It's like any other tool that we have in our arsenal as paranormal investigators. As long as you believe in what you're doing, it will work. But that can also be in a bad situation where if you're fearful, you can convince your mind of anything. I'm sorry, I've seen it many times. Hello?
So what you're saying then is people in this field are their worst enemies because they are the ones who are going to allow their imagination to create reality.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I believe it's actually something in my new book, The Other Side of the Paranormal. See, the reason I went into the other side of the paranormal is not so much it's a different paranormal, is what it is. It's a extension of what we already know and what I already know. And so, yes, you can alter your state of mind by what you believe. if you believe, and you're a Catholic, for instance, and you believe in their belief in their way of teaching, that's cool. But as long as you allow them to make you fearful, you're going to remain fearful, and everything will be a demon, because that's what they believe.
And not just for television ratings.
Exactly. Yeah.
What do you think the biggest misconception of the paranormal industry is to the mainstream that isn't told?
That what they see on TV is totally false. Yes, the basics are there, but that's all it is. It's just the basics. They have no concept of what they really need to be looking into. If they want to know more, they need to talk to investigators, somebody that actually has been doing it a while, or are seeking the truth behind the paranormal. There are some good new investigators out there. I've met them, and I'm looking forward to getting to work with them at some point. I'm a big networker. I love that stuff. So I never believed that I know it all. I never believed that, because I don't. But I do know a lot of stuff that I can help other people with. And if I believe in them as new investigators with new theories and new suppositions and all that stuff, then they're teaching me something too.
Is it a field where you believe there are no experts? Because a lot of people love to throw around that expert term as well.
They sure do. There is no expert in the paranormal. I don't care what research you're doing. There's no expert, because we still have yet to find factual proof that, evidence-wise, that we can show to the scientific community, real scientific community, to make them believe in what we're doing.
We only got about 5 minutes left with you. This has absolutely flown by tonight, SJ.
It always does.
Tell us a little bit about your book, Haunted, A True Story.
Well, basically, Haunted, A True Story, I wrote a couple of years ago. It was my introduction to letting people know what I do and what I believe and that kind of thing. My newer book, I have actually 4 or 5. Anyway, I have like 3 or 4 fictional books out. I love writing fiction because I can use my imagination. I can take that fiction and base it on stuff I already know. My nonfiction books, the new ones coming out this year, are The Other Side of the Paranormal and Skagit Valley Ghosts, because there's a lot of ghosts in the valley where concrete is and stuff. And so I'm writing about those, and I really enjoy it. But I really, I guess my drather would be to write fiction.
So is that the goal, just to continue on the writing and try and get into more, figuring out more conferences to kind of put your name behind?
Yeah, I would really like to start doing more speaking, but it's really difficult to get people to come to those things if it's not around Halloween time, which is so ridiculous. Everybody seems to believe there's just that. That's a misconception right there. Is it the only time that you can talk about ghosts and listen to what people have to say about it is in October, which is totally ridiculous, because it happens year round. People just don't like talking about it. I don't know why.
And I understand that, and it's one of those things that I'm very much looking forward to participating in. Let's spend a couple minutes here about the Forest Moon Paranormal Paracon that'll be going on. Yep. How did you get involved with it?
Well, Eric and I had worked. Eric, I, and Russ had worked together before on investigations that he had gotten, because he just does emergency response type stuff. Him and his people, and he's called me in a couple times to use my abilities with other, another psychic or whatever, and we've done that, and we just became good friends. And him and his wife are great people, and we all get along really good, and just like working together. I'm really looking forward to this Paracon. I want to get into doing more, but I want more like Eric and Izzy's Paracon, because it is talking about everything you need to know about the paranormal, and we're afraid to ask, basically. And I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun. Lots and lots of fun.
You know what? I'm looking forward to it, too, because the one thing I think that you guys have done that I am very impressed with is how you are very much not trying to keep this a Washington State thing. You're moving it into British Columbia, where I am as well, to try and let people know up here that, you know, a hop, skip, and a jump from the border, you're in concrete, and you can take in this event, which is going to be able, like you said, have topics for everybody in every sort of niche.
Yes, exactly. And that was Eric's idea. So, but we just kind of came in and are helping him and his wife Izzy organize it and make it something that everybody's going to enjoy. Russ and I are going to be doing like a walk and talk kind of ghost thing after the city ghost walk, because you know, people, they want to know the history. That's cool, because I love history. But they also want to know about the ghosts, and that's why they're there. And so we're going to talk about all the investigations we did in concrete, the evidence we got, you know, everything. It's going to be fun.
And one final question for you. What can people do on Amazon to find your books?
Okay, I used a pen name, S.J. Wells. My name is Sandra J. Wells. I have a couple books under that name, but most of my newer books are S.J. Wells, which is Haunted, A True Story, this new one, The Other Side of the Paranormal, and Skagit Ghosts. And then I also have one book that I co-authored with Daniel Norvell, which I call him Ghost Hunter Dan. And we're good friends, and that was our first book, and that I have other ones too. So you can find me on Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Create Space, because I always still publish my own books. I haven't had an offer to go with a publishing company, and to be honest with you, I don't know if I would, because that takes my rights away as an author, and I don't like that. I like to be able to do what I want.
SJ, thank you so much for being on Spaced Out Radio tonight. Real pleasure to talk some paranormal with someone with as much experience as you have. Thank you.
Thank you. It was great being here.
You hold on. I'm going to wrap this thing up. We got Bumblefoot playing in the background. Of course, Mr. B himself, Ron Bumblefoot THAL, formerly of Guns N' Roses, is our resident guitar god. He brings us in and out of every Spaced Out Radio episode 7 days a week. Reminder, tomorrow night we have the SOR Roundtable going on, and with that, we're going to make our first prize draw for the SOR Space Travelers. Make sure you go to the website and sign up. You sign up before that show, you're going to qualify for tomorrow's prize draw as it starts tomorrow night. I'm excited about that. The panel will be with us. You'll be with us. I'll be with us. And somewhere in between, James Tyson will be hanging out, probably on a ghost hunt somewhere. Reminder, you can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, you can follow me at Dave Scott SOR. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show, if you want to hear our archives. They are free, unlike the other guys. And our website, once again, is spacedoutradio.com. While there, take a tour. Join the SOR Space Travelers. Check out who we associate with. Read up on the SOR Spacewire. Our news director, Eric Markham's busting his balls to try and get that thing going. Great reads on there. And, of course, you can check out my latest blog and the blogs of others by clicking on the blog section. Tomorrow night on the show, SOR Roundtable, then I'm out for the weekend. Mr. Bumblefoot's taking us home right now. Good night.
This is the new totalitarian state. 1,000 eyes are waiting for you to break. Stay in line, don't make a mistake. We're watching. We watched you fall.